So, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 1, what if Naruto could summon the Great Red Dragon in High School Dxd. Expect to see your favorite DxD characters in action. By chapter 3, things really heat up with some real magic, but don't skip the first 2 chapters, they're packed with the story of how Naruto arrives in the High School Dxd universe, fully unleashing his potential. But before we start, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to stay tuned for more. Now let's start the story. Chapter 1. It's over. These were the thoughts of a blonde boy wearing an orange and black jumpsuit that looks like it's seen better days, floating in the dimensional gap covered in golden flames. Naruto, I am sure they'd all be proud of you, Kurama tried to console his first friend. Naruto was on the verge of tears, his lips quaking, all the exhaustion, hunger and pain was getting to him. Play sadness and sorrow asked. You really think so, Kurama? Kakashi-sensei, Sakura and Sasuke are all dead because of me, because I wasn't strong enough. Maybe if I really paid attention in the academy, maybe if I had spent more time training, maybe if I was more serious, maybe if I took the ash killing bone instead of Sasuke, he would have made a difference. If he had both yin and yang seal, then maybe he could have saved Sakura and Kakashi-sensei. I failed them all, Kurama. I'm all alone, Kurama, I'm alone. All the massive fox could do was let his partner vent out all his frustrations. It was a miracle they actually defeated Kagaya alone, but that stupid girl had one last trick up her sleeve, and here they are in this strange void. Now, all Kurama could do was let him vent before they actually find a way out of this place. The only thing keeping him alive is Kurama chakra mode, and that would soon run out. Naruto, I never knew you were one to spit on the sacrifices of your friends. They sacrificed their lives so you could live because they believed you could defeat Kagaya. They died with a smile on their face, and you owe it to them to live your life to the fullest, because that's what they'd want you to do. Naruto was in his mindscape on his hands and knees, listening to all of what Kurama said with realization dawning on his face. He had to live. He owed them that much, at least. Looks like I'm finally getting through to him, Kurama thought. The sooner he got Naruto out of this place the better. His chakra was weak, and it barely helped in protecting Naruto from danger. This strange dimension was fighting against them as if they were not meant to be here, but that's the least of their problems, however. 2 massive signatures were lurking around in this space, and one of them was advancing to their location fast. These signatures, they were incomprehensible, in the sense that the massive 9-tailed fox had never sensed an energy like it before. It was not chakra nor was it natural energy. It was something else entirely. Get up, Naruto. You're not alone. 9 Bijks all gathered around him with their fists stretched out to make a fist bump with Naruto. You have me and my siblings. You might be the last of the elemental nations, but through you, a new generation shall spring forth, and this time they will be guided into the light, and I promise you'll never feel loneliness, Naruto, and when you do feel it, you do what you always do, you find your precious people, so get up, Uzumaki. I will not have my Jinchuriki brood like an Uchiha. Shukaku to Kurama all surrounded him, cheering him on, and then Naruto knew he wasn't alone, or at least not entirely. Naruto brought his fist up and bumped it with all the Bijk's fist, and a ripple went through the water in his mindscape. Well, he sniffs, we better get out of here. Naruto wiped his nose with his tattered sleeves. The gears in his mind were shifting furiously, trying to find a solution. A way of the void they were in. And how would you get out, Uzumaki? Shukaku asked. After Naruto defeated him, he had a small amount of respect for him, and seeing him go one-on-one with Kagaya made him respect Naruto even more. Trust me, Shukaku, I have a plan, but it's suicidal, and I don't even know where I'll land. Naruto was already out of his mindscape with a Hiraishin kunai in hand. I really hope this works because I want to live. He thought before he got serious. The shinobi closed his eyes, burning an image of Konoha on his mind, through his entire body. He tried to envision himself in Konoha, and when the picture became clear, he let loose a great cry, summoning all the chakra he had left, not sparing a single drop. Hey! Naruto went full Kurama Sage mode, trying his best to hone in on a Hiraishin kunai, but couldn't find any. Time for plan B. Taking in a deep breath, Naruto closed his eyes for a second and opened them to reveal that his former orange pupils with a black horizontal bar and a vertical slit changed to purple with a ripple-like pattern. He clapped his hands together and focused all of his chakra in his eyes. The ripple pattern was being overlapped with another different pattern entirely as a crack in the endless void of nothingness appeared in front of the shinobi. The Eye of Samsara had done a lot of feats he himself bore witness to which were nothing short of miracles, but the blonde was inexperienced in its usage. Having a basic understanding of all universal things chakra-related, Naruto knew something was happening the moment he sensed a sudden change in the flow of chakra in his eyes. Naruto couldn't see, but something was happening to his eyes, he could feel it, and then, a crack appeared in the endless void of nothingness in front of the shinobi. Seeing this, he pumped more chakra into his eyes to strengthen the jutsu, and his efforts were rewarded when the crack widened again. Just a little more. Naruto tried to reassure himself, but he knew he was on his last leg. His eyes bled due to the strain put on them. His eyelids felt heavy, and his consciousness slipped away at an alarming rate. His body disintegrated bit by bit as the chakra cloak protecting him waned, thus, leaving him defenseless against the dimensional gap's corrosive nature. The only thing slowing down the process was Kurama, who was still pumping the last of his chakra into Naruto. The other Bijks had sacrificed all of their chakra and had fallen into a deep stasis. Come on, come on, come on. He screamed as golden chakra burst from his body and the crack widened enough for a Hiraishin kunai to pass through it. I'm coming, everyone. He screamed mentally as he threw his father's famous kunai into the crack. Hiraishin no jutsu. Swish. He was gone in a flash. The blonde escaped death in the dimensional gap into the unknown. The crack in space closed up. He never saw the huge red western dragon comparable to the size of the first Hokage's wooden statue coming, nor a little girl dressed in a gothic Lolita outfit looking at where he was with keen interest. The little girl could feel the huge amount of chakra left behind by the creature that invaded her home, and it felt human. But no human could have survived in the dimensional gap. Someone strong was in the gap. I will need their power if I'm to remove Great Red from my home, she mused. I will find you, stranger. Scene change. The moon was out in a certain town in Japan when a crack in space, the size of a human head, opened up in thin air. A three-pronged kunai came out of it and stuck itself into the ground, and a heavily bleeding body appeared right beside the kunai. I made it, I survived. The blonde Uzumaki couldn't move, but he was grateful he made it out of there alive. His eyelids were getting heavy, and all he just wanted to do was sleep for now. His partner's voice congratulated him before he became unconscious. You did well, Naruto, Kurama commended the unconscious blonde. An event that happened once was happening again. The mindscape was getting darker and darker, while Kurama couldn't stop his own eyelids from closing. It's alright, now that they were back home, or so Kurama thought. The nine-tailed fox's pupils dilated a fraction when he sensed something was wrong. Where did the Hiraishin kunai send us to, Naruto? This isn't Konoha. Kurama knew everything was wrong when he sensed no chakra in the people living in this place, nor did he sense the Shinju or the massive chakra network created by Madara using the Mugen Tsukiyomi. Damn it, Naruto, where did that Hiraishin kunai take us, and what was that jutsu? Kurama wondered how Naruto was able to create a crack in space in the first place before he closed his eyes, completely out of chakra. Time skip. 2 years later. All one bored guys, one Naruto Uzumaki sighed for the zillionth time that day. Kurama, I'm bored, he whined. Kurama, the strongest of all Bijks, really wanted to unleash his greatest Bijdama on the blonde menace and the crappy apartment they called home, but refrained from doing something like that because the last time he and Shukaku had a misunderstanding, they ended up destroying their former apartment while Naruto was out on business. Something bad happened that day, something really bad. Oh, Kurama still remembered that day like it was yesterday. The blonde descended on them like they were a bunch of teenagers, and the pranks that followed. Oh god, Kurama and Shukaku lost a part of them that day. Just ignore him. Just bear with it, Kurama. At least until reinforcements arrived. Shukaku, sleeping beside Kurama in his chibi form, communicated with his brother telepathically. I don't think I can take this anymore, Shukaku, Kurama voiced out telepathically. You have to, big bro, I don't want to be in his crosshairs. You do know what happens to those that get an insignia of a bullseye with a spilled ramen cup on it, right? Kurama just had to endure it because he loved his sanity. Whoever's marked with the revenge of the fallen ramen sign is doomed for life, but luckily very few people knew a way out of this predicament, and what was the remedy, you ask? A sacrifice of 1,000 instant ramen to the ramen god Uzurimen was required. Of course, people thought this an urban myth because no one could find out the identity of the ramen god. Anyone that tried to investigate Uzurimen became a living shell of their former self. Kurama is so bored. The blonde Uzumaki wailed. Hey Urama, Naruto called out his partner's name in a sing-song voice. Shit. This is bad. Where's Seiken when you need her? The kitsune was already sweating bullets, looking for a way out of the pickle he was in. Seiken would release this certain nerve-calming gas whenever Naruto blew a gasket, and it was pretty effective, plus the fact that Seiken had a pure record out of them all helped her case too. She was in Naruto's grace. The damn slugs never broken a thing in this shitty house. How she did so was a mystery to the orange fox. Boy, Shukaku, would you help a brother out? The nine-tailed fox called for help. Don't drag me into this, man. Come on, I'd do anything. Every Bijk for himself is the #1 rule of this apartment. Damn it. Okay, think, Kurama, think. What if I gave him a target? No, I'm not that heartless. Wait, maybe this could work. Go enroll in a school or something. Kurama, the ever-lazy fox, has once again saved its hide. No. I'm not cut out for school. Naruto refuted. Then go get a job, boy. Last time I checked you had 9 mouths to feed. You lot don't need sustenance. Then get us out of this crappy apartment. I'm still sore about our old house, you rotten fox. Go visit the old man in that ramen shop you frequent so much. Naruto froze when he remembered the old man wanted to tell him something important. And just like that, the blonde was out the window with a black muscle t-shirt under an orange leather jacket with the words, "Orange is awesome," styled at the back and blue skinny jeans with orange sneakers. Praise ye the logs. Now that Naruto was out of the way, Kurama wondered where the adult magazine he was reading disappeared to. Scene change. Everything was going normal in Delit ramen shop today. Customers were coming in and out of the establishment, ordering different kinds of ramen. The fly was buzzing around looking for its next victim to torment. The chefs were busy making ramen in the kitchen before a special globe started blinking red and the alarm systems went frenzy. This could only mean one thing to the chefs of Delit Noodle Shop. Look alive, boys. I want all hands on deck. The top chef bellowed in a sergeant's voice while pacing in front of all the assembled chef in the kitchen. There might be a chance that one of us is going down today. May the best chef win. He gave everyone one last glance and turned around. Let's take down this son of a stupid girl. Roger, Sarge. The whole crew shouted. After the short motivational speech by Hiroshima, the owner of the noodle shop, Naruto blitzed in, skidding to a stop in front of Hiroshima, with his eyes narrowed. "Im your best shot, old man hero," he challenged. "Oh, it's on, Uzumaki." And like that, all the chefs rolled up their sleeves with one goal in mind, to fill up the monster in front of them. Cups upon cups of ramen were sacrificed to the ramen god, but they all fell in front of his divine retribution. "He's pushing me to my limits, I don't think I can hold on much longer," one of the chefs lamented. The situation looked bleak, it was a clean defeat and Hiroshima was a man of honor. "I concede, Uzumaki," Hiroshima admitted a clean defeat. "Heh, don't worry, old man, the day you defeat me is still thousands of years away," Naruto stated with his trademark ear-splitting grin. "Ah, that hit the spot," he sighed, patting his stomach. The Naruto face-off was a tradition that began 2 months after Naruto's first visit to the noodle shop. The official score is Naruto 34, Hiroshima 0. And the best thing about the Naruto face-off was that the ramen was free. Everyone knows that Hiroshima became a millionaire not too long after Naruto's first step into the door of Hiroshima's little shop. The old man called Naruto to the counter and placed a bowl of broth in front of him. "I have a gift for you, Naruto," the old man said all of a sudden. "What is it, old man?" the blonde ninja asked with genuine curiosity on his face. "I sure hope it's a free ramen pass for a week." "I'd become bankrupt," old man Hiro deadpanned. "Yeah, no shit," he agreed in a dull manner. Hiro dropped an orange envelope with a message on it with a title that reads, "To our No. 1 customer." On the table. Naruto, who was slouching on the table, raised his head up when he saw the envelope and found a golden key in it when he tore it open. "Congratulations, Naruto, I just bought you a new house in Kuoh," the old man exclaimed. "Oh, old man, thank you so much." Naruto held the key like it was a lifeline tossed to a sinner in hell. "You deserve it, Naruto." The old man ruffled the blonde shinobi's hair. "I hope you actually find a new job and a nice girlfriend." Naruto was going to miss the Shingahashi district because of the old man and his noodle shop, but he had this feeling that Kuoh wouldn't be boring like this shithole he landed in after falling into Kagaya's Yumatsu Hirosaka after sealing her off for eternity. "Thanks, old man. I better get packing, then." "Don't be a stranger, Naruto," the old man said. "Goodbye, old man," Naruto waved at Hiroshima. Naruto was on his way home, bored out of his mind. He wondered if his lifestyle was okay. Was it something worthy of the #1 hyperactive, knucklehead ninja? He didn't even know what hyperactive meant anymore. The blonde Uzumaki quickened his pace because he wanted to see how the Bijks would react to the news that he's got a new apartment in Kuoh. Those little runts have been stupid girling and moaning about the poor living conditions lately. Scene change. All 9-tailed beasts were in a state of panic right now because Shukaku and Kurama had wrecked their home again. Naruto would descend upon them with an unholy temper. Speaking of the devil. Swash. Naruto stood at where his house was supposed to be, only to see Matatabi, Isobu, Sun, Kakum, Seiken, and Jiki pointing at Shukaku and Kurama, who looked like they wanted to be anywhere but there. That's when it all clicked in the ninja's head. Those bastards destroyed his house again. A huge pressure slammed on the two culprits and killer intent they've never felt before was directed at them. The air got so thick with the amount of Kai Naruto was releasing, and then, all of a sudden, it all vanished. For once, Shukaku and Kurama had the same thought going through their minds. "Shit, we're fucked. I just wanted y'all to know how much I love you." Please don't miss me while I'm gone, okay, the tanuki of Suna said his last words. Who knew Shukaku had a side like this? Just so you know, Matatabi, I stole money from your safe to buy an adult magazine. Just wanted to make restitution before I die, Kurama confessed. I knew it, Hero Fox. Matatabi hollered. Hey. A fox has got urges too, you know. Kurama tried to justify his actions. Naruto took a steady gait towards them, and every step forward increased the tension in the air. It got so intense that one of the tailed beasts actually farted. Who the hell was that? Kakum, the gentle one among Hagoromo's creations, voiced a question that was on everyone's mind. I have good news, guys. Naruto yelled, leaving the Bijks bewildered. Pack your luggage cause we are going to Kuoh. What in the world? Kurama had a confused look on his furry face. I have a new mansion waiting for me in Kuoh. Naruto squealed in joy like someone that hit the jackpot. What? Was all the tailed beasts could get out. I'm too old for this shit, Kurama shook his head, sighing deeply. Naruto and company were in front of their new home in Kuoh staring at the little mansion in awe. He couldn't help but smile because this was his first gift in this world and he'd be damned if he let those wild beasts destroy this one. Well, guys, let's go check it out. Naruto's words were followed with a chorus of, yeah, from his partners in their chibi forms. Wow, this place is beautiful. Naruto looked around with childish-like awe on his face and was very eager to explore the house. The living room had all kind of furniture with a black LED TV on the wall, 3 couches positioned at the right angle to have a full view of the TV, a dining room, a kitchen with a master bedroom beside it, and stairs leading to the first floor. I suck at describing things. Naruto started unpacking and brought out a blank paper, brush, and ink. It was time to fortify his new home with the new seal he was working on. Hyuinjutsu at its basic was ink and paper performing impossible feats. The Bijks were at the top of the food chain in the elemental nation, but even the majestic tailed beasts fell to the power of Hyuinjutsu. It was no doubt one of the strongest ninja arts in the shinobi world. A whole hidden village was wiped out because of their affinity for Hyuinjutsu. It was a good thing Naruto picked up this art while on his training trip with Hirosenin, bless his naughty soul. Naruto made shadow clones to unpack and make sure the first floor was ready for use while handing seals to them that had a specific function to put around the house. While the shadow clones were busy fortifying their home, Naruto had bigger fish to fry, and that was the Chibi family he had left and their tendency to destroy his house. Alright, line up, guys. All the 9-tailed beasts in their Chibi form line up in a row on the glass table. Now, this is a new house, and that means new rules to go by, and I've got 2 rules for y'all, Naruto said with his game face on. No one Naruto glared at the ones that had the tendency of getting into trouble is allowed to fight inside this house. If you have a beef, go settle it in a forest away from civilization. And? Kurama yawned staring at Naruto with a dry look. The strongest of the 9 Bijks just wanted all this over and done with so he could watch that soap opera he loved so much. You'll all return into the seal when I'm out. I'm not going back into that sewer. Shukaku's crazed voice was accompanied by a nod from all his siblings. That's my mindscape we're talking about, Baka Tanuki. Naruto snapped. This is outrageous. You're taking away our rights to free movement. Don't question my authority, Shukaku. It's either you're in or out. Boy, Kurama, do something. Sorry bro, every Bijk for himself Kukuku. Shukaku muttered something about evil blondes and stupid foxes under his breath but complied with the rules set in stone. Boss, the kitchen is filled with all kinds of food commodities and there's instant ramen too. Several poof sounds were heard all around the house to signify that all the clones were done with their individual tasks. Kurama switched on the TV as soon as Naruto entered the master bedroom. Each Bijk wandered off to do their own thing. Naruto came out wearing a burnt orange sweater and black pants. His wet hair sticking to his forehead. You're going out. He glanced at the naughty scene airing on the TV and shook his head in amusement. Gotta get myself familiar with the roads and stores. Bats are crawling the city. Be careful. Naruto waved over his shoulder and strictly ordered Kurama and Shukaku to main order while he's gone. A simple but maybe effective solution. Anyway, those 2 are prone to destroying things, so putting them in charge of protecting his property seemed logical to him. Naruto seemed to ponder over his decision as he neared the gate. Ah, fuck it. The roars of protest that hit his ears was well worth it. He didn't want to come back to a destroyed mansion. The hero of Konoha was walking down the streets of Kuoh, taking in the sight of the skyscrapers, the cars, different kinds of cars, the billboards, the aeroplanes in the sky, and a lot of other fascinating things. He saw 2 couple holding hands and kissing in public while others waited for the green light before they crossed the road. Inhabitants and their strange behavior and traditions. Imagine Naruto's surprise when he saw the map of the world. This world was bigger than the elemental nation by a fair margin. Learning about the 7 continents and the seas, mountains, and other wonders of this world was a very pleasant experience for the unpredictable ninja. He also learned this world has been through 2 bloody world wars. The cycle of hatred was everywhere it seems, and most of these humans don't even know that there's so much more that lurks in the dark, that all the legends and stories were all true. It was a shame, really, without magic, these humans have devised ways of traveling at abnormal speed, devised weapons of mass destruction, and learned to heal many different kinds of ailments. Makes you wonder how much they would have improved if they had something like chakra at their disposal. With a heavy sigh, the child of prophecy sat on a bench in the park as his mind drifted back to the first time he woke up in this new world. Flashback. The beeping sound of a patient's monitor filled the ward where a certain someone that just survived fighting a goddess for several days without food or rest was lying in. An IV drip supplied fluids into his body. In a certain sewer, drops of water created ripples on the knee-length water. It was so silent the sound of a drop of water rippled across the entire room. The gate restricting Kurama was long gone, but the Tails Beast and his siblings were nowhere to be found in the dark. A lone ray shined on a blonde-haired boy lying on the surface of the waters. "Wake up, Naruto," a certain feminine voice called out to the blonde Uzumaki, barely above a whisper. Naruto laid down unmoving, his eyes devoid of emotions. He just stared on lifelessly with half-lighted eyes. "Naruto." Naruto slowly blinked at the call of his name. It seemed like the voice was coming from a great distance. It kept on reverberating, rising in volume and intensity to the point where he felt bothered by the incessant calling of his name. The water droplets started dripping faster, the ripples reaching the blonde's position. "Wake up." Naruto's eyes snapped wide open in his mindscape, and a second later he regained consciousness in the physical world. "I'm not dead." Naruto tried to open his eyes, but the fluorescent light stung. The last thing he remembered was a Hirai shining out of that weird dimension. After his eyes adjusted to the lights, Naruto noted that he wasn't in his tattered jumpsuit, his pouch nowhere to be found, and his hit eye missing. He was in a light blue hospital gown with a white flower pattern scattered around it. His sensitive ears pick up indistinct chatter, the smell of strong disinfectant hits his nose. He felt sore and hungry. He brought a hand to his temple to massage the throbbing headache he had, wondering where the Hiraian kunai brought him. "I see you're finally awake." Naruto snapped his head to the source of the voice to see a black-haired man wearing spectacles dressed in a doctor's garb. The blue-eyed youth tried to sit up, but the pain wouldn't let him. "Take it easy, you've been asleep for a week now. We thought you wouldn't wake up for a while because your wounds were very fatal," the doctor told the awakened blonde. "I thought you wouldn't survive, but your body miraculously healed itself in front of my eyes, mister," the doctor trailed off. "Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto introduced himself. "Damn. A whole week. That fight really took a lot out of me, huh," the shinobi pondered. "Uzumaki-san, my name's Takasugi Azumi, but you can call me Dr. Tak," the doctor introduced while helping Naruto to a sitting position and cushioning his back with a pillow. "Where am I?" was all Naruto could manage to wheeze out before he started coughing due to his dry throat. "You're in Takeshi Teaching Hospital in Shingahara District. I have a lot of questions for you, Uzumaki-san." The doc offered him a cup of water. "Please call me Naruto. I was never one for honorifics." "How did you receive such fatal injuries, Naruto-san?" "Had a big fight, doc." "It must have been a very brutal one," Dr. Tak said with a hint of disbelief in his face. "You have no idea," Naruto replied, rolling his eyes. "Your Japanese is great, but you don't look like the average Japanese. I tried to find anything that would identify you, like a wallet, a passport, an ID card or a phone, but all I could find was 3 tri-pronged knives and a headband," the doctor pointed at the objects beside the table. "You're not from here, are you?" The doctor's entire body language shifted to that of someone on edge, and Naruto grew nervous because he wasn't sure if this guy was hostile or friendly. "I came from a very far away place," Naruto replied to the doc. "An illegal immigrant?" Takasugi queried. "Yes," the shinobi lied. Dr. Takasugi's wary expression morphed into an emotionless as he asked the blonde, "What are you, Naruto-san?" "What do you mean, doc?" Naruto raised an eyebrow at the question. "I saw your wounds heal by themselves, Naruto-san. I heal faster than normal. Humans don't heal that fast. What do you know about the supernatural?" Naruto withheld his tongue before he spit out another answer. What was this guy's angle? What's a supernatural? He's never heard of the term. Surely you must have some kind of sacred gear that grants you the ability to heal faster than normal. So, what faction would want you dead, Naruto-san? "I don't think I understand you, doc," Naruto answered a bit confused. "Factions. Sacred gear. My sacred gear shows me the affinity of magic in a human, and every human, no matter how many skilled it was, had an affinity for magic, but you had 0 magic affinity." "Magic? Like parlor tricks?" Naruto frowned. Are you perhaps a yokai? Look here, Doc, I'm 100% human the last time I checked, so stop questioning my humanity. Naruto was confused right now. All he wanted was some rest and maybe food, ramen would have been better. Wait, does this place have ramen? I don't know what you're talking about, so if you'll excuse me, I'll be on my way. Naruto tugged at the syringe in his vein and was about to get up before his negative emotion sensing started blaring. We're not done yet, Naruto-san, you see the people I work for need special people like you in their ranks, whether you like it or not. Naruto had a Hiraishin kunai, his own Hiraishin kunai, mind you, to his throat in an instant. The disrespect was strong in this one. Calm down, Doc, you don't want to do this, Naruto replied coldly. Why wouldn't I, pray tell? He asked, drawing a thin line of blood from his neck. Someone is about to enter the room. True to Naruto's words, a nurse with a tray filled with drugs and water entered the ward. Ah, Dr. Takasugi, he's up I see. She beamed at the patient with a smile. Yes, I was checking up on him to see how he was doing, the evil doctor replied casually like he hadn't just threatened the convalescent blonde. You can leave the tray on the bench beside the bed. Thank you, Kagafu-san, Naruto smiled at the young nurse who returned his gratitude with a nod. 5 seconds later she was out of the room. Now, we could do this with your memory intact, or do you prefer to be brainwashed? The doctor had him in their previous position. Naruto was officially pissed and not to mention in an inner turmoil now. On one hand he could just beat the shit out this guy, then interrogate him to gain info on this world, but that was the only scenario he could think of where the doc did not lose his life, but on the other hand all other scenarios he thought of ended with the poor sap dying. Naruto had to make a decision, and fast. Look bro, I really don't want to kill you, so let me go, and I'll pretend like this never happened, Aren't we a little cocky, Naruto-san? After all, I'm the one with a weapon here. The doc had a crazed gleam in his eyes that Jugo had when he was high on senjutsu. TCH, you leave me no choice then. He sighed regrettably. Before the doc could blink, Naruto had him in a chokehold with his feet dangling in the air. Takasugi was really afraid because he just became the prey in an instant, but when he looked into Naruto's glowing purple eyes, he knew his time was up when the last shinobi alive placed his right hand on his head. Ninjendo. He intoned. The lifeless body of one Takasugi Azumi dropped with a dull thud. Interesting. Looks like there's more to this world than meets the eye. A poof later and a perfect replica of the dead doctor stood in Naruto's place, and the body of the doc was nowhere to be found. Flashback end. Naruto stood up from the wooden chair he sat in to backtrack through the busy street back to his house. Mind out, coming through. The brown-haired boy on a collision course with a stationary Naruto, who was having a conversation with his tenants, screamed out, but, unfortunately, the Uzumaki was too engrossed in the conversation going on, and so they collided. Well, more like the brown-haired boy ran into a brick wall and rebounded off of it, landing with his ass on the floor. Are you alright? Naruto was concerned about the boy before he felt a familiar sensation, a tingle ran round his skin. A naughty, huh? You see, after spending 2.5 years with Jiraiya, Naruto developed a seventh sense. That's right, a seventh sense that is activated when a naughty is within a certain radius of him. Damn. This guy's naughty aura is on par with Iro Sennin's. He whistled in awe. Issei was a little disoriented but managed to get his bearings. I'm fine, stranger-san. He replied, gazing up at the person he bumped into. The mop of blonde hair reminded Issei of Kiba, the pretty boy of Kuoh Academy. I'm sorry but I gotta go, my mom's going to kill me if I'm late. The boy dusted his pants and continued his race back home. Naruto continued on his path back home, the same path the naughty brunette took. Naruto wondered if they were neighbors, but dismissed that thought because his naughty radar would have picked up on something. He could have Hiraishin home, but didn't because he wanted to walk today. And besides, those tailed monstrosities would want out when he got home. Now, all that was left was to eat as much ramen as he could and then get some much-needed sleep. Chapter 3. Alarm clocks are a must-have item in the 21st century. Don't you think so? People once paid other people to wake them up back in the old days, they'd hit their windows with a long stick to wake them up in the morning. Now, with the invention of alarm clocks, you can kiss those sticks goodbye. They came in different shapes and sizes and ringtones. Even smartphones come pre-installed with alarm clocks. Most students make use of alarm clocks to rise early in the morning, alarm clocks with normal ringtones. All except the mighty naughty himself. Wake up, wake up. If you don't wake up I'll kiss you. The digital alarm clock repeated like a mantra until a tanned hand slammed on the alarm clock that displayed 7:15 a.m. Issei had a very weird alarm clock. Ugh, it's morning already. He scratched his unkempt hair while rubbing his eyes. Issei Haidu was an average third-year high school student of average height, short, spiky brown hair with 2 short locks of hair behind his head, and light brown eyes. He was an only child living with his parents in Kuoh. Everything about him was average except for his massive libido. Issei was a shameless naughty with an unhealthy obsession for women's tits. Due to this, he was disliked by the female students of Kuoh Academy, a recently co-ed academy, which was the perfect place for a massive naughty like him to indulge his perverse desires because of the higher female population. He was a proud member of the school's naughty trio, a trio of the most naughtied men in Kuoh Academy. He wore the standard Kuoh Academy uniform, except he had a red shirt. Issei's dream was to become a harem king. He had breakfast and said a quick goodbye to his parents. He was en route to school when he spotted his new neighbor, Uzumaki Naruto's house. In Issei's opinion, Naruto was an enigma. He was jobless and his age, if Issei took a guess, would be around his early 20s. Sometimes, he'd have this bored expression on his face, and sometimes it'd be melancholic. Issei would sometimes hear different voices coming from his house at night. He still remembers when he bumped into the strange blonde for the first time and how rigid he was. Issei quickened his pace, his mind drifting away while wondering about boobs. The Kendo Club girl's boobs to be exact. If he was lucky today, maybe he could sneak a peek without them knowing. Scene change. Uzumaki mansion. Naruto was in bed, tossing and turning while muttering "I'm sorry, and it should have been me" in his dreams. He grabbed a fistful of his bedsheet with beads of sweat covering his face, and his expression was that of great anguish. The winds picked up as blue energy exploded from Naruto's body. The whole house shook under the presence of the blonde's chakra. There were loud clattering sounds coming from the entire house, and Naruto was too deep in his sleep to notice he was subconsciously releasing chakra until he was snapped out of his nightmare by the voice of his friend. Kurama and the rest were in the living room just lounging around in the living room, bored out of their minds. Ever since they landed in this dimension, Naruto had never used their full power in battle, and it was kinda boring for beasts that could cause tsunamis by waving one of their tails. They were a lot of powerful people in this dimension, but the blonde just wouldn't fight unless it was deemed really necessary. We have to do something about this lackadaisical attitude Naruto has developed over time. Madatabi really cared for Naruto because he was the one that reunited them after all these years and gave them hope, but this attitude of his was unbecoming of the boisterous shinobi. Yeah, it's been a while since we last saw the Naruto that gave the damn about people. Jiki knew the blonde had a tendency to butt into people's business, always wanting to help people shoulder their burdens, but the current Naruto was a far cry from his former self. Do you think he still hasn't gotten over his guilt and regrets? Son Gok added his 2 cents on the hot topic. Hey, shouldn't you know why the kid became like this, Kurama? After all, you've been inside him since birth, Isobu, the three-tailed turtle, probed the strongest among them. Said fox was on its hind legs while his head was resting on his paws with his eyes closed. It's a coping mechanism the brat developed over time, and the only way to break out of it depends on him entirely. Kurama shared a much deeper connection with Naruto than the rest of the Bijks, so he knew the solution to Naruto's problem. I don't think I understand. Shukaku was really confused right now. All I'm saying is that the brat needs to make new bonds. He needs friends, precious people that would help him overcome his guilt, and, in his current mindset, that's impossible. I see he needs to get out there and… Whatever Seiken wanted to say was cut short when they all felt a spike in Naruto's chakra level. Shit. Kurama cursed under his breath. The chibi giant took off from the couch and was in Naruto's room a second later. Snap out of it, Naruto. Naruto. Naruto awakened with a gasp to the sight of all 9 Bijks on his bed looking at him with worry-filled eyes. Another nightmare. It was more like a statement than a question from the orange fox. I'm fine, Kurama. Naruto wiped off his face while trying to calm his erratic breath. You were releasing a lot of chakra while sleeping. Was I? They wouldn't approve of the way you are living. Kurama frowned. Shut up, Kurama. Naruto groaned. You have to come to terms with the fact that you can't reach the elemental nations anymore. They would have all turned into white Zetsus by now. Kurama said. Super Gramp Sage must have a solution. Naruto replied. Not without our chakra. You don't get it, do you? I have been finding a way out of this place for 2 years now because I'm the only one that can dispel the mutant Tsukiyomi. I don't know how long it will take before everyone turns into white Zetsus. This brooding around won't help at all, Naruto. All I'm trying to say is that you should make new friends and, who knows, maybe they could fill that empty space in your heart once again. What do you suggest I do, then? He threw Kurama a flat stare. Try to make new acquaintances. Kurama suggested. Just know that no matter what happens, we are here for you, Naruto. The other Bijks nodded in unison. Naruto was secretly happy he wasn't alone in this world, that he had the tailed beasts with him. They helped him keep a bit of his former self, and he's been a little strict with them lately. Thank you everyone, and I am using this medium to apologize to you all for the rules I set up. From now on y'all are free to be anywhere you want, but rule 1 still stands. don't destroy my house, okay? Yes. I'm free again. Can I use the backyard? Shukaku was almost jumping with glee because he liked being in the physical world. Yes, you can all use it however you like. Naruto was starting to regret his decision when he saw the faraway look in their eyes. I guess it's time I actually change my unemployed status, huh? I think it's high time I created my resume. Naruto had a massive grin on his face. Just hold on guys, Naruto Uzumaki doesn't go back on his words databao. Scene change. Evening. Issei had a long face on, thinking about his unfulfilled school life on a bridge. Will my time at the academy be wasted without a single chance to get some boobs in my hands? Issei was so deep in thought he didn't notice he had company. The black-haired girl in a uniform he's never seen before walked up to him with her hands in front of her interlocked together and her gaze was on the floor. Are you Haidu Issei from Kuoh Academy? She asked timidly. Yes, that's my name. Issei replied with a blush. He couldn't help but notice how cute she looked. My name is Amano Yuma, the cute girl introduced herself. She seemed to fidget for a while before she mustered up the courage to say her mind. Are you seeing anyone at the moment, Haidu-kun? Not really. Issei said in a carefree manner. Then, would you please go out with me? What did you say just now? Issei stuttered. He was really surprised that a cute girl just walked up to him and asked him out. I've always seen you pass by here and well, please go out with me. The cute girl screamed with her eyes squeezed shut fearing rejection. Issei was a happy man today. Maybe the most happiest man on earth scratch that. The day he squeezed some oppi would be declared a public holiday by the gods. Everyone always thought he'd never get a girlfriend, hell, Issei knew his chances were slim given his naughty reputation, but here he was on this bridge with a cute girl asking him out. Yes of course I'd like to, Amano Yuma-chan. He replied in a heartbeat. Yuma had a megawatt smile on her face and Issei couldn't help but blush. How's tomorrow afternoon sound? Yeah, that'd be great. Issei was skipping in his neighborhood with a large naughty grin on his face. Mitsuda and Motohama would be so jealous when he showed off his new girlfriend tomorrow. He was dreaming about the oppi on Yuma and the naughty things he'd do to them. He was so distracted by his naughty fantasies he almost bumped into the same blonde stranger he did yesterday. Oh, it's you. Issei pointed his index finger at Naruto. Oh, it's the resident, naughty brat of our neighborhood. Naruto mimicked Issei. You're the new guy in town. Issei asked feeling uncomfortable because his new neighbor must have heard news of his naughty habits and now thinks he's irredeemable trash. What about it? Naruto raised an eyebrow. I'm Issei Haidu and I live in the house beside yours. Issei wanted to learn more about the blonde stranger. Naruto Uzumaki, Naruto introduced himself while putting a hand forward for a handshake. Issei shook Naruto's hand with his left hand, a smile on his pink face. So, what's up with the smile on your face? Naruto asked. Oh, a cute girl just asked me out, Naruto-san. Can you believe that? Naruto chuckled at his happy attitude. Good luck on your date, brat, I have important business to attend to. And, just like that, the blonde was gone. Issei stared at Naruto's back for a moment before making his way back home. It was cold, his back. Naruto was going to the local library to get 6 years worth of knowledge into his head all in 1 week, and the good part was that he wasn't going to read a single book. No wonder the Kage Bunshin was his favorite jutsu. Fukuku, this is going to be interesting. I wonder what job Kurama and the rest would pick for me. He chuckled as he entered the local library. Scene change. A week later. Naruto woke up feeling energetic. He brushed his teeth, had a hot bath and got ready for the day. Good morning y'all, Naruto greeted the chibi forms of all the tailed beasts. Good morning Naruto-kun brat, they all replied. Naruto was thinking about breakfast, he had ramen in mind, but he wanted something else because he was starting his new job today. The Bijks had picked a formal dress for him to wear. So, what did you guys decide on? Naruto asked, staring at the plush-size W on his white sofa with curiosity written all over his face. Naruto was in front of an office in a black tuxedo under a white, long-sleeve, buttoned-up shirt, a tie and black matching pants and shoes with his resume in hand and hoping he's accepted in this establishment. Naruto knocked on the door 3 times before he heard it come in. Taking a deep breath, he opened the door and entered the office. Naruto was offered a seat with a hand gesture to one of the 2 seats in front of his potential new boss. Scene change. Streets of Kuoh. Issei and Yuma walked beside each other, en route to their planned date venue, when they managed to chance his friends on the street. He introduced his new girlfriend to his friends Mitsuda and Motohama with a sense of superiority and glee. Almost like he was gloating. Their reaction was predictable as expected, priceless surprise and betrayal reflected on their faces. Yuma linked her arm in his as he waved his friends over his shoulder, leaving them burning with jealousy. Issei and Yuma had lots of fun on their 3rd date. They went shopping, visited the park, the arcade, had coffee, went sightseeing and spent the evening in the park. It was getting dark and it was time to call it a day. I had a lot of fun today, Yuma stated while holding Issei's hand. Yeah, today was great, Yuma-chan. He breathed with adoration written all over his face. Say, Issei-kun, do you mind doing me a favor to commemorate our first date? Yuma asked with a smile on her face. This is it, my first kiss. Don't screw up, Issei, the brown-haired naughty scolded himself mentally. What kind of favor? Issei questioned his love interest, trying his best to conceal his excitement. She tiptoed, her lips curving into a wicked smirk and whispered into his ear, could you die, please? Issei cleaned his ear with his pinky in the sheer bizarre nature of her request. He wasn't expecting that at all. What he expected from her was a kiss. Sorry Yuma-chan, can you repeat that? Issei asked, a bit disturbed by the unusual request. I think there is something wrong with my ears. She stared at him, right in the eye, her smirk widening further as she radiated a sinister aura. I said, could you die, please? In front of his eyes, his girlfriend's clothes burst into bits, leaving her nude, except for her black panties covering her womanhood, while she transformed into something else. But in that split second of her transformation, he saw her tits, naked tits, the first tits he ever saw. Her new attire was something worthy of a BDSM outfit of sorts, with wings, jet black wings sprouting out of her back. I really enjoyed our time and I'll cherish the gift you gave me, so she stretched her hands forward and a spear made of light formed in her hands. Please die. She stabbed Issei through the stomach. Issei coughed up a mouthful of blood, his eyes wide with shock, hurt and betrays. Why Yuma-chan? The bleeding Issei wanted to know why he was being killed. Yuma pulled her light spear out of Issei, the action making him fall to the ground without any support to hold his limp body. What a shame, really. He was really looking forward to impaling her with something nice, but he never knew she'd take the initiative quite early and impale him with something else entirely. You possess a sacred gear in you, so your existence poses a threat to us. Blame God for putting a sacred gear inside you. Yuma flew away, leaving Issei alone and dying with only one regret. He should have at least touched her boobs before she killed him. I'm dying and all I can think about is a woman's watermelon, what a shitty life. He lamented in his last moments. My blood reminds me of her hair, her long crimson locks. I wish I could die with my head in between her watermelons. These were Issei's last thoughts before he died. But what he didn't see was a red teleportation magic circle forming beside his dead body and a certain red-haired ruined princess stepping out of it. Scene change. The next day. You really don't remember Yuma-chan? Issei, a fully revived and healthy Issei, was hoping his friends would remember anything about his girlfriend, but it seems the naughties had totally forgotten about Yuma-chan. As if that wasn't weird enough, everything Issei had about her, like her phone number and her house address, was erased. His friends thought he was delusional, and the brunette thought it was all a dream too, but it all felt so real. Issei shook his head to clear all his thoughts. He woke up early morning in his bed, as if nothing happened yesterday. It was like he had a vivid nightmare. He woke up and did his morning ritual, but he only noticed something was truly wrong when he couldn't find anything relating to his girlfriend. He gripped his hair in frustration and cried out to the sky. His venting was cut short when the girls of Kuoh began gossiping about. Hey, did you guys hear about the hot new biology teacher? A random girl asked. Yes, I heard he just applied yesterday. Do you think he's single? I heard he's going to teach our class. Issei released a loud groan of utter exasperation. Kiba was already big enough of a competition, he didn't need a new one. The brunette slammed his head on the table with a bang in protest of whoever this new teacher was. Forget Yuma, he needed to protect his turf, Class 3B. The front door of Class 3B slid open, and a tall, blond man wearing a black tuxedo on top of a black turtleneck with black pants and a matching pair of shoes waltzed in with an aura of confidence and power. Good morning, class. I'm your new biology teacher, Uzumaki Naruto, he introduced himself with a straight face. Several squeals from the female students filled the air, they were going on about how cool and handsome the blonde was. Oh, Naruto-san. Issei was astonished to see his neighbor in school and as a teacher no less, he shot up and pointed a finger at him out of habit. Oh, isn't that the naughty brat? Something about him's changed, Naruto mused in his mind. Hey, hi do, and it's Naruto-sensei to you, Naruto acknowledged the brunette. Everyone was astounded by the fact that their naughty classmate knew the blonde teacher. Issei was going to ask Naruto if he remembered Yuma-chan, but knew that now was not the time for that. Naruto wrote the topic of the day on the blackboard and started to elaborate on the day's topic for the students. Scene change. Break time. Ria's Gremory was in the occult research club beside the window in her office looking down at the busy humans going around the school premises until her attention was drawn to a blond man in black sitting on a bench with his eyes closed. Akeno, who is that? Rias pointed at Naruto. That's the new biology teacher, Akeno Himejima, Ria's queen and best friend, one of the two great One-Isama of Kuoh Academy, said. Ria stared at the blonde shinobi for a while before diverting her gaze back to a white-haired petite female student in front of her desk. Keep an eye on him and, if you notice anything out of the ordinary, report back to me, Rias ordered a rook, Koneko Taoju. Naruto was really annoyed. The fangirls of this world were on a completely different level compared to the ones in the elemental nation. His sensitive ears picked up on the comments of the students no matter how much he tried not to. Naruto-sensei looks so handsome with those black marks on his face. I love Naruto-sensei. I wish I could sit by Naruto-sama. Lucky bastard. Blondie. Naruto's eyes twitched at that. This school was like any normal school, except it had those blasted supernatural bats disguised as humans schooling amongst them. After absorbing the Dark Soul, Naruto gained a lot of info on the supernatural world. He could sense supernatural beings if he was in sage mode. They felt inhuman, and a devil's aura had a dark but not necessarily evil feel to it. He remembered his first encounter with a devil, and when he learned that nature, in this dimension, was angry at everything. Flashback. After busting out of the hospital he was held up in for a week, Naruto knew he had to find a place to lay low for the meantime. The doctor worked for an organization known as the Hero Faction. This organization collected different kinds of sacred gear users to rid the world of devils and fallen angels. They recruited special people with special abilities using any means necessary to initiate them into the organization. Naruto didn't have time to deal with this organization, not when the elemental nation's inhabitants were still under the influence of the mutant Tsukiyomi. The knucklehead ninja wondered how long it would take before everyone back at home would turn into white Zetsus. It was a race against time, and the problem was a ticket to the elemental nation, but for now, he had other worries like how he'd survive in this alien world. It was a miracle his Hiraishin kunai landed in Japan when he threw it through that hole. Where Kagaya's technique brought him to was very dangerous. Naruto had no doubt he would have died if he was not Kurama Chakra mode. He navigated his way from the hospital to the forest in the distance. With his destination decided, he pumped chakra into his legs and with a mighty hop he was gliding in the air and he had a bird's eye view of the city. The view was so beautiful from up there, the lights, the roads and the cars on it, the skyscrapers compared to the small buildings and the dots that signified the humans walking down the street. He should hog all this to himself alone. His partners had to see this, he thought. Kurama. Naruto received no reply and thought the Biju was sleeping. He couldn't go inside the seal and wake the poor fox over something as feasible as sightseeing, lest he incurs the wrath of the great fox. Naruto traveled away from civilization, jumping across the skyscrapers on the streets till he reached the massive forest in the distance. Kurama. You there? Naruto tried contacting his partner when he landed on the forest floor but received no reply from the giant fox. Kurama. Jiki. Son. Still no reply from the Bijks. Fearing the worst, Naruto dived into his mindscape only to see all the tailed beasts were asleep. He breathed out a sigh of relief. The fight with Kagaya was no doubt the hardest fight he's ever had. The fight with Nagato, Jaiubi Obito, and Six-Path Madara paled in comparison to the scale of destruction they left in the wake of their clash. The current state of the Bijks might be due to chakra exhaustion. Maybe they spent the last of their reserves into healing his body. Naruto exited the seal and sat in a lotus position on the floor of the forest, ready to draw on nature's energy before. Kill. Naruto's blue orbs widened to epic proportions. This wasn't right, this should not have been possible. The amount of malice he felt from drawing nature's energy wasn't supposed to be there at all. The hate wasn't on the level Kurama had before they became friends, but this caused great concern for Naruto. Nature was war mankind back in the elemental nation. The alien supernaturals on this planet have managed to piss off nature. Naruto's musings were cut short when his battle instinct screamed at him to dodge. The blonde ninja rolled away from the position he was into a defensive stance when the position he was in exploded into debris. Who's there? Show yourself. He yelled at the hostile intruders. The monster walked out of the forest and into the clearing Naruto was standing on. Another pathetic human. The monster looked like a combination of a goat and a man. The hell are you? He bristled. Naruto had never seen something like this in his life. A creature with a human's upper body and lower body had the resemblance of a goat. Since you are going to die anyway, I am the stray devil that haunts these very woods you're in. The supernatural being. The bit of information he got from Takasugi's soul had details mostly about the Hero Faction, and he was a low-ranked member of the organization. I have eaten lots of unfortunate children who were unfortunate to have crossed my path, and whatever it was going to saw was interrupted by a Rasengan to the head courtesy of Naruto. I don't have time for this. Naruto was on the stray devil's decapitated body of the stray devil. Naruto heard ruffling sounds coming from all directions. "There's more of them," Naruto noted. A dozen of stray devils busted from all around with one goal in mind: to avenge their fallen comrade. Naruto closed his eyes and blurred out of sight, and 4 strays fell to the ground, dead. He reappeared behind another stray with his legs raised for an axe kick that cracked the skull of the current stray he was facing. Landing on his feet with 5 dead strays. He quickly disposed of the rest using the Hiraishin kunai. The clapping sound filled the silent forest. That was a most impressive display for a human. A humanoid figure walked out of the place he was observing the blonde human take out the strays. "Looks like your sacred gear was not only for high-speed regeneration, but also grants increased speed and strength," the stranger analyzed. "Your abilities would prove useful. Work with us and we will teach you how to release the full potential of your sacred gear," the green-haired man tried to cajole Naruto. "I don't need you guys to teach me anything," Naruto snarled at the greenet. "Well, then, I guess I'll have to use lethal force," he said casually with a poker face. "Before we fight, let's exchange names. I'm Daisuke." Daisuke unsheathed the green 2-edged blade from its black scabbard, which had a dark silver hilt. Naruto didn't give out his name, but rushed at his opponent with a Hiraishin kunai in hand. Daisuke charged at him and they met in the middle. As both blades collided with each other, Naruto's eyes widened when the green blade sliced through his like butter and was headed for his shoulder. With the agility worthy of a ninja, Naruto shifted his body away from the path of the blade. My blade is my sacred gear. It has the ability to cut through metals," Daisuke boasted. Naruto just scoffed and brought out another Hiraishin kunai, but this time, he coated it with a layer of wind chakra and threw it at the green-haired villain. Daisuke brought his sword up, ready to slap the little blade away, before it was his turn to be surprised when Naruto flashed right in front of him with a blue, spinning orb in hand, with said orb near his face. "Rasengan." Naruto screamed out the name of his technique, but Daisuke reacted fast and used the flat side of his sword like a shield against the spinning orb. The orb and blade battled for dominance in a second, and it looked like the Rasengan was winning the war before it exploded outward with a blast of chakra kicking up dust. Daisuke skidded to a halt while his clothes were singed here and there. The greenet was on alert because the blonde wasn't in front of him anymore. He looked right, left, front and back, but saw no sign of the blonde before he looked up, and there was still no sign of the blonde. Then that means Daisuke backflipped away in time just before a kunai pierced his chin, but his face was met with a vicious chakra-enhanced kick from another blonde, which sent him crashing through the forest and toppling trees. "This kid is stronger than expected. I have to get serious." Daisuke knew not to underestimate the blonde Uzumaki anymore. The green-haired swordsman took in a deep breath and inhaled out and uttered 2 words. "Balance break." The green aura surrounded him while his sword took on a more titanic size, and, as for the swordsman, he now had green skin. "It's over," Daisuke said those words and blurred out of Naruto's sight, and a second later, his sword went through Naruto's chest. Daisuke smiled when he thought he had achieved victory before the blonde impaled with his sword poofed out of existence. "What?" the swordsman exclaimed mentally. "You let your guard down," Naruto's voice came from behind him, and he had 2 of those orbs in his hands. Rearing both of his arms backwards, Naruto drove them towards the man's unguarded back. Rasengan. Daisuke was sent rolling into the ground with a little blood dripping from his wound. Daisuke stood up with a smile on his face. "That should have ended it," Naruto stayed in surprise. Daisuke charged at Naruto with his titanic sword, while Naruto empowered his kunai with a lot of wind chakra. It started glowing blue, and with it he stopped the incoming charge. "Impressive blade you got there," the swordsman complimented him. Naruto slid his kunai along the edges of the titanic blade to change its trajectory before the bigger man grabbed his hand and threw him away while nicking Naruto's right hand with his sword. Naruto tried to make hand seals but found that he couldn't control his right hand anymore. He glared at the greenet as if demanding an explanation. "You see this sword, my balance breaker, Wild Jade, has a special ability," the swordsman explained. "A single cut renders the body part useless for a certain amount of time," Daisuke explained. "This is the end," Daisuke declared himself the winner. "Is it?" Naruto's hair overshadowed his eyes, and with a low chuckle Naruto brought his left hand up above his head and created a Rasengan and kept on pumping chakra into it until it was as big as a house. And that's when Daisuke knew he was fucked. So, in a last attempt to win, he threw his massive sword at Naruto, hoping to kill the blonde. "You really don't pay attention to your surroundings." Daisuke's eyes widened when he heard Naruto's voice behind him again. "Adama Rasengan." Naruto slammed the Rasengan into Daisuke, ending the match in the wake of the Rasengan's destruction. He gazed around. If there were stragglers or worse, if he belonged to a multi-cell team, their fight must have given out his position. This place is no longer safe anymore and, like that, Naruto disappeared from the battlefield. Flashback ends. That was the first time Naruto fought a stray devil, but he's met other devils too. With a deep sigh, he got up from the bench he was on when he ran into the brown-haired naughty from the other day turned student again. "Naruto-sensei, do you remember Amano Yuma-chan?" he asked with desperation written all over his face. "Who?" Naruto raised an eyebrow, not really recalling anybody named Yuma-chan. "The girl that asked me out on a date," Issei reminded. Naruto seemed to ponder on it for a while before his face lit up. "Oh, yes, I remember her. How was your date, anyways?" Issei was happy someone remembered Yuma-chan, and at the same time, it brought great distress to his soul. "That's the thing, Naruto-sensei, I don't seem to remember what happened at the end of our date." Chapter 4. Naruto was on his way home after a hard day at work thinking about one of his students, Issei Haidu to be exact. The boy didn't know he was turned into a devil yet, and that was kinda weird. He deduced that Issei had a sacred gear and was killed because of it by his new girlfriend, and he was brought back to life by a devil. Talking about bats, one little bat cat's been tailing him around for a while now. Naruto remembered her name was Koneko, a student of Kuoh Academy. She's been following him secretly ever since he left school. "Looks like those devils are suspicious of me," Naruto pondered in his mind. "What are you going to do about that bat following you around?" the nine-tailed fox inquired. "Let's kill her. It's been so long since I killed someone. Looks like Shukaku still had his psychotic tendencies." "Just a little killer intent would suffice," Jiki proposed. The prankster in Naruto stirred awake with a new target in sight at Jayuki's suggestion. Koneko Taoju was tailing the new biology teacher around just like her king ordered her to, but she didn't think anything about the blonde teacher was special, given his mundane routine. "I wish I had some candy with me," she thought, bored out of her mind. The ever-stoic school mascot had a sweet tooth when it comes to candy. She rummaged through her pocket hoping to find a candy bar when she fished out the last candy bar packet on her person. She tore the packet open only to find an empty packet of sweet in her hand. "I've been duped," she thought with narrowed eyes. Koneko threw the packet away only to notice her target had gone missing. Her eyes darted left and right looking for the blonde when a voice from behind startled her. "Nice view you got out here, little cat." Koneko almost fell out of the tree she was on when she heard her new teacher's voice behind her. The normally straight-faced teen had surprise written all over her face. The blonde was behind her, standing on the same tree with his arms folded and a bored expression on his face. Koneko was surprised because she was at a safe distance looking at him in the street below, so how did he get behind her so fast and without her knowing at all? "You haven't answered my question, little cat." A mighty pressure slammed down on Koneko, and all of a sudden the air got so thick it was becoming hard to breathe. Koneko saw her death flash before her eyes, and it was a very brutal one. The Nekomata saw the visage of a nine-tailed fox snarling behind Naruto before she blacked out. "Huh, did I go overboard?" Naruto asked no one in particular with a sweat drop. "Great, just great," Naruto deadpanned. "This is your fault, Octopus." "I'm not the one who released killer intent." The eight-tailed octopus defended himself. "How was I supposed to know that the damn thing would render her unconscious?" A chibi Naruto raged inside the seal. "Ah, forget it, I'm gonna leave her here." Naruto Hiroshini'd back home knowing tomorrow was going to be a hectic day. Scene change. Kuoh Academy. Issei was in the occult research club in front of Rias with Akeno, Kiba, and Koneko. He remembered he was almost killed by a fallen angel named Denasiage before he was saved by Rias, and he woke up a few hours later with her hot naked body beside him on his bed. Issei had never been so happy in his life, not when his mom cooked his favorite meal or when Yuma-chan asked him out, nothing compared to seeing her heavenly oppai. Rias promptly told him about his new status as a devil, and he was pretty devastated to learn that he wasn't human anymore. "Issei, everyone in this room is a devil," Rias dropped the bomb on Issei as her bat-like devil wings came out from her back. Issei gasped in surprise and took a little step back out of fear, but was surprised to see his own devil wings behind him. She also told him about his girlfriend being a fallen angel and that everything that happened to him was real, including his death. Issei wondered why his friends didn't remember about Yuma, which made Rias tell him about fallen angel's ability to erase human memories. After Rias introduced him to the other members of her peerage, she explained all about the evil P system and his position as a pawn in her peerage, which made Issei's self-esteem deflate. Seeing his crestfallen look, she told him about the pawn piece specular ability to turn into any other piece except the king in battle, which increased Issei's confidence. She also told him about all devils' weakness to light energy. She told him about how humans summon them to form a pact. The upside of all this was that if Issei did well, he'd get his own servants and he could do whatever he wants with them. Thus the brunette's dream of becoming a harem king was still possible. Issei's first mission wasn't quite eventful, but when he was going back to the occult research club, he almost lost his life again. This time it was a blue-haired female fallen angel by the name Kalwarner, and in this life-threatening situation, Issei unlocked his sacred gear, which takes the form of a red gauntlet with a green gem on it on his left hand. This made the fallen angel retreat because she wasn't expecting him to have a sacred gear. After the little skirmish with the fallen angel, Issei got back to the occult research club. He told Rias of his encounter and his new power. She congratulated and told him he could manifest his sacred gear anytime he wanted to. Now that the fallen angels know you're a devil, you have to be more careful, Issei, and don't think you can take them all on, now that you've unlocked your sacred gear, the Redeed warned her pawn. Yes, I understand, but you. I'm going home, Issei dismissed himself. Scene change. The next day. It was morning and Issei was on his way to school when he saw a cute blonde girl in a nun's outfit on the floor murmur something about how clumsy she was. Hey, there, are you alright? Issei offered a helping hand. I'm fine, thank you. The blonde nun took Issei's hands. I'm Issei. The Red Dragon Emperor introduced. Nice to meet you, Issei, I'm Asia. Sorry but I'm a little bit lost, do you think you can help me out? The blonde nun told Issei with a blush on her face. Scene change. It was nighttime, and the light of the full moon shone brightly on one miserable blonde ninja who had an extremely bored expression on his face with one hand his pocket and a grocery bag filled with ramen on the other. He could have her ration at home, but he actually enjoyed walking home swinging the bag with eerie step. He took his mind flashing back to yet another hard day at work. Stupid hormonal teenagers, Naruto grumbled under his breath. What are you going to do about those devils back in school? A chibi Kurama appeared over Naruto's head with a poof. For now, we do nothing. He was thinking about the white little cat and how she felt like a yokai up close. Those devils are going to be wary of you, Naruto. Let them be, Kurama. I don't have the time nor energy to waste on dealing with little bats. Meow. Naruto's inner conversation was interrupted the moment a small cat jumped into his path. Huh? Black cat. Naruto pointed at the black cat in front of him and his eyes flashed with melancholy for a brief second when he remembered a certain excuse of a certain Cyclops. What are you doing out here alone, cat? Naruto rubbed the cat under its ear, making the cat purr in satisfaction. Boy, Naruto, that's not an ordinary cat. I know. This cat reeks of devil energy and chakra. Naruto scooped up the black cat after having a discreet conversation with Kurama, who was in the seal the moment they sensed the cat. They're bringing an unknown yokai home. It'd be fun, and besides, I'm bored. We're gonna have lots of fun, little cat. I'm gonna call you Tora. Naruto said, petting the cat. Scene change. It was 3:12 when Naruto finished with the last class he had for the day. And as for your assignment, I want it on my table tomorrow morning. Do you hear me, brats? Naruto barked at his students. Hi. Naruto-sensei. The whole class chorused. Naruto just made his way out of class when a pale blonde-haired student walked up to him. The kid seemed like a devil. Hello Naruto-sensei, my name is Kibayudo and, if you don't mind, Ria's Gremory requires your attention in the occult research club. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the blonde kid in front of him. Tell the Gremory brat to come to my office if she needs anything. Naruto was already 2 steps away before Kiba stood in his way with a smile on his face. Your attention is really needed, Naruto-sensei. It's about a topic she's having trouble with. Whatever it is, it can wait. I have to get home fast so I can feed my pet cat. Go away kid. Naruto dismissed the blonde knight. Naruto knew why the voluptuous bat wanted him in the orc and frankly, he didn't give a shit about what she wanted or any stupid warning she would give him. Kiba was quite dissatisfied about the fact that he couldn't bring Naruto to the orc, but he was kind of surprised because upon probing his energy levels, he realized Naruto had zero magic or light energy. So, what faction did he belong to? Kiba opened the door to the orc and his fellow peerage members except Issei were present. Where is he? Rias asked, noticing the glaring absence of one Naruto Uzumaki. He declined and he said something about feeding cats, Kiba replied to the Redeed. Oh, are you sure he's a supernatural, Koneko? He's sinister and hostile. I saw my own death, but you. Koneko was really shaken up by Naruto's actions the other night. I'm not sure, but his scent is that of a human. Human? Rias questioned with a frown. Yes, and a strong smell of a fox, the white-haired rook stated. Ara, Naruto-sensei is a yokai? Akeno asked. He's not a yokai, Koneko corrected. For now, just steer clear of him okay, he might be on to us. We don't have enough info on him. Rias was about to continue before Issei barged in screaming at them to please help save Asia which Rias declined, but Issei wouldn't see reason. That place is enemy territory, Issei. But Asia whatever Issei was about to say was cut off by Rias. You're not going and that's final. But Issei tried to argue, but Rias and Akeno left the orc to meet Sona. Fine, I'll do it myself, Issei said, with his boosted gear activated. I don't know whether you're brave or stupid, but I'm coming with you. Kiba secured his word beside his hips. What? You'll get promoted to any other piece if you enter that church, but you can't defeat them on your own. That's where we come in. Koneko too. Issei was happy because the chances of saving Asia just went higher. The school mascot just nodded her head. Alright, let's go. Scene change. At you. Naruto sneezed on Tora, who was on his lap. Someone's talking about me. Naruto ignored the growling cat in his lap, and the cat scratched Naruto's face with its claws. Ah. Damn cat. Get back here. Naruto chased the cat around the house, while Naruto's face gained more marks that healed on spot. Is this really the human that managed to evade the hero faction for this long? I must say, I'm disappointed, the black cat mused. And why does Office seem so interested in him? Tora stopped on top of a table with its fangs bared and its tail raised up like a tiger ready to pounce on a deer. Boy, what's with that look, Tora? The cat's face went blank and it jumped at Naruto's face, intending to claw out his eyes. Scratch. Ah. What the hell did I do this time, Tora? Scratch. Don't you like the name? Naruto asked a bit weary with his hand shielding his face. Somehow, the cat nodded. So, how about Garfield? Naruto received a sharp claw to the face. Would you like some ramen? Naruto asked with a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Meow. Somehow, Naruto knew the cat just said no to ramen. I hate cats. A flaming blue cat hissed inside Naruto's head. So, what's your name? Naruto questioned the cat as if it could speak. It's fine to tell me your name, cat, I know you're a yokai, the blonde ninja said to the cat. For a second, the cat froze before it regained its composure and a mischievous smirk formed on its face. The cat transformed into a voluptuous young woman with black hair and hazel eyes in a black kimono and a yellow obi. Looks like the cat's out of the bag, the woman disguised as a cat spoke for the first time. Naruto's eyes twitched because of the skimpy outfit she wore and how her huge watermelons were almost visible. You haven't answered my question, Tora, Naruto reminded. The cat-turned woman walked towards Naruto with a sway on her hips. She cupped Naruto's face and settled her generous butt on his lap. It's Kuroka and she licked his whisker marks. Naruto was getting uncomfortable with the situation he found himself in. How was he supposed to know that the cat was going to be this hot in human form? So, what do you want with me, Catwoman? You're quite popular in the Cows Brigade and you've managed to gain the attention of the Ouroboros dragon god, a very impressive feat actually, Kuroka explained to Naruto while tracing her fingers on his abs. The Auburn what now? Naruto was really lost here. Was her boss's name God or Auburn whatever or dragon? The infinite dragon god? Nope. Office? I don't know who you're talking about, okay. My boss requires your expertise and she'd have come here in person if she knew where you lived. I am honored and all, Catwoman, but what if I decline? Kuroka giggled at that. You'll get the blessing of Office if you join us we could definitely use someone like you in the Cow Brigade. Naruto hummed at the perks, but he had something else in mind. What is the goal of this organization? To remove the strongest dragon god from the dimensional gap, Naya. If your master wants my services then she must grant me a request. That sounds fair. You're quite the celebrity in the hero faction, Naruto-san. Kuroka had heard about the blonde and his escapades. The rumors of a human smart enough to evade the hero faction entirely and strong enough to defeat some of its stronger members was sure to attract attention. The reason why they stopped trying to capture him was unknown to Kuroka. Hero faction I'm afraid we have a little misunderstanding between us. Naruto was calm on the outside, but on the inside, it was another thing entirely. It's that stupid organization again. Are our fates intertwined or what? I thought I saw the last of them when I went to Kyoto. I wonder how Kunu is doing these days. That fake Kikbi must be doing fine in Kyoto. The fact that another Kikbi existed in this realm was a hard pill for Kurama to swallow. I miss the Younjin, Naruto-kun. Let's pay her a visit sometime. Matatabi, too, was surprised to learn that this world had creatures somewhat similar to her in appearance, but they were on the brink of extinction, unfortunately. While Naruto was in a conversation with the tailed beasts in his mind, Kuroka decided to gauge Naruto's aura and imagine her surprise when she was hit with a warm bright potent chakra more potent than her own. That's impossible. Kuroka gasped when she felt the nature energy around Naruto's house was calm and serene. Could it be that's bullshit? As a Senjutsu user, Kuroka could sense things, and lately, nature energy seemed more relaxed in some places, and what they all had in common was the blonde in front of her. Said blonde just had a distant look on his face. How can you use chakra, Naruto-san? Kuroka got no reply from the blonde Uzumaki. She snapped her fingers to gain his attention. Naruto had a lot of explaining to do if Kuroka's mood was anything to go by. He had something excluded to Yaokase inside him, and it was perhaps the strongest chakra signature she had ever sensed. A half-blood yokai. Were the whisker marks on his face due to his yokai blood? A lot of questions were on Kuroka's mind and she was willing to use force to get answers. She clapped her hands to shake him out of his thoughts, seeing the distant look on his face. This was no time to go down memory lane. Questions need to be answered ASAP. Boy, I ask you a question and why? Kuroka screamed at his face. Huh? It took Naruto a moment to process what was going on. What was that? How do you have chakra? Kuroka snarled at him. Shit. How'd she know? Naruto had beads of sweat rolling down his face. Okay, play cool, Naruto ga. What do I do? What do I do? A chibi Naruto was inside the seal with both hands on his head running around in circles. You got careless, Naruto. Now she too knows you can use chakra, Kurama berated his Inch-Kriki. The light bulb appeared on Naruto's head at Kurama's words. You're a genius, Kurama. Naruto exited the seal. That's my sacred gear. Naruto looked Kuroka in the eyes with a straight face. A sacred gear? What's its name? Kuroka questioned with less hostility. It's a unique sacred gear, so I don't have a name for it. Kuroka had doubt written all over her face. She wanted to voice her doubts, but Naruto interrupted whatever she was about to say. Do you mind getting off me? Your weight is blocking the flow of blood in my laps. The shinobi knew he had just dug his own grave, but it had to be done in order to prevent her from asking more questions. Are you calling me fat? Kuroka's beautiful face darkened considerably, rage flashing behind her eyes. Okay Naruto, this is it, this is your first attempt, don't ruin it. Naruto took a deep breath as he prepared himself mentally. Wait. I don't mean to say wait, I meant to say your succulent ass, Naruto lied in a slick manner. A sly smirk appeared on Kuroka's face. Yes, I do love sitting in your lap after all. Naruto-kun. She gyrated her hips slowly with a smirk on her face. Your aura is so warm and welcoming, Naya. Kuroka rubbed her face into Naruto's hair. His aura was intoxicating, and the black-haired beauty was finding it hard to control her instincts. In fear of losing his innocence, Naruto pushed her off his lap and made his way to his room. You can see yourself out. I have work tomorrow. The Uzumaki closed the door with a loud bang. Naruto-kun, let's make babies. Kuroka knocked on Naruto's room. This stupid girl is crazy. Naruto placed restriction seals on the door to his room. The sacred gear that allowed a human access to chakra, Naruto Uzumaki, you are one interesting human indeed. Kuroka said out loud to herself. She needed to know more about his sacred gear and maybe she could teach him a thing or two about chakra if he joined the Cow's Brigade and then they would make really strong babies together. Kuroka decided she was going to stick around Naruto for a while. Well, I guess I'm sleeping here Scene change. The local church in Kuoh looked more like a battlefield this night as Issei and Kuoh were in a battle with the fallen angels and stray exorcists. Issei went to confront his former girlfriend whose real name was Rainer, only to see an almost naked Asia in chains and Rainer ripping her sacred gear out of her. He tried to stop her, but he was too late. Rainer had already removed her sacred gear, Twilight Healing, and implanted it inside her which made her more powerful. Asia was on the floor dying and she needed help fast. Kiba and Koneko bought him some time and he took Asia out of the church, but the deed was done, Asia would die, and Rainer used this to taunt Issei. Issei responded in an aggressive manner and a fight broke out. It was one-sided for the most part until near the end, when Issei managed to barely pull out a win. With Rainer on the floor injured and Asia's dead body in Issei's arm, Rias and Akeno arrived at the scene after they were done with the other stray devils and fallen angels. Rias killed off Rainer, and she returned Twilight Healing back to Asia and brought her back to life with her bishop piece making her a reincarnated devil. Issei was overjoyed because Asia was back in the living world. He hugged her close and didn't let go. Let's go home Asia. Issei lifted her bridal style as they all made their way back to the orc. Asia had a blush on her face when Issei smiled at her. She was really happy because she now had what she wanted all along. A friend. Chapter 5. The morning rays of the sun crept in through the brown curtains behind the windows of a certain shinobi. A bluebird perched on a tree chirped loudly with its eyes closed shut as if it was screaming at a certain shinobi to wake up. Said shinobi squeezed his eyes shut in exasperation due to the intense rays of the sun. The first thing he noticed was that his orange blanket wasn't covering his body and there was extra weight around his chest down to his legs and unmistakable numerous tingling sensations of hair sprawled all over his arm chest and jaws. The shinobi wondered which bitch was sleeping on him, but that thought was thrown out the window when he opened his eyes to a mess of black shiny silky hair. With reflexes gained from his time in the elemental nations, he flipped the intruder on the bed and a kunai poofed into existence in his hands with its sharp edge resting on the pale neck of the intruder. A feminine gasp of surprise was what stopped Naruto's reflexes on time. He took his time to actually look at the intruder and was a bit annoyed to see it was the Catwoman. He watched as her expression went from surprise to fear before finally settling on mischievous. I never knew you were into something like this nya, she moaned under him. Kuroka's verbal tick was really weird for Naruto. What the hell are you doing in my room? He asked in suspicion. Naruto knew his seals were active, so how did she get in his room? He suddenly remembered something about devils and their teleportation circles. He'd have to do something about that. I was cold and lonely, and you were so warm nya, she replied. Naruto took the kunai away from her throat and got off her to prepare for the day. Where are you going? Kuroka asked as she sat Caesar style on Naruto's bed. Her kimono had fallen off her shoulder, exposing a good portion of her boobs. The next time you sneak into my house will be your last, the shinobi replied and closed the door to the bathroom with a click. Naruto was a very interesting person for Kuroka. Many men would have stared blatantly at her tits, but he didn't even spare a glance at the insides of her revealing outfit. It takes great self-control to not gaze at a supernatural woman in a lustful way, but here was a human not even taking a glance at her orbs. Naruto Uzumaki came out of the bathroom 10 minutes later with a knee-length white towel wrapped around his waist and another one wrapped around his hair. He made his way downstairs to make breakfast only to see Kuroka in the kitchen. He raised an eyebrow at her as she poked her nose into his cabinet. Don't you have any food item in your house other than ramen? She asked but got no reply from Naruto. You need to eat other things than ramen nya. You'll never understand the divinity of ramen like I do, Naruto replied sagely with a bitter smile. What are you doing here anyway? Don't you have work to do? The knucklehead ninja asked. I've decided to stick with you for a while, and you don't know everything about chakra like I do, Kuroka boasted. Naruto scoffed and shook his head while he wolfed down his ramen. What? You think I'm a slouch when it comes to chakra? Do you even know what senjutsu is? Kuroka was getting irritated at Naruto's lackadaisical attitude towards her offer of teaching him how to use chakra. Naruto actually laughed out loud at her statement. You know nothing about senjutsu, brat, Naruto replied smugly. Kuroka grit her teeth hard and a low growl escaped her mouth. She was about to spit another retort before Naruto stood up and dumped the bowl in a sink inside the kitchen and traced his step back to his room. Naruto walked out fully dressed for work a few moments later. Hatwoman, I'm going to work so you're She's gone. Naruto shut the front door and pocketed the keys and took off in the general direction of Kuoh Academy. He couldn't shake off this feeling that he just created trouble for himself. Everything will work itself out. Scene change. Kuoh Academy. Hiya. Naruto-sensei. Look at how he's so modest. It's that blonde bastard again. Looks like some things never change, Naruto mused as he walked around school to the staff room. His musing was cut short when he heard a busty bespectacled female student with black hair styled in a bob cut called out to him and, beside her stood, another bespectacled female student with long black hair. He remembered her to be the student council's president. What was her name again? Was it Senior Sabrina? He'd figure it out eventually. Good morning, Naruto-sensei. Her elegance reminded Naruto of the clan heads, especially the Hyugas, back at home. This one would be a stick in the mud type no doubt. Good morning to you, Sonic, Naruto greeted her. It's Aona, Naruto-sensei, she corrected, and this is Tsubaki. Tsubaki greeted Naruto and he did the same. Naruto-sensei, we have a lot to discuss, please walk with me, she admonished her blonde teacher. Lead the way, Sokka. Naruto shrugged off the glare he got from Tsubaki. Don't look at me like that, people's names are really hard to remember, he defended himself. Naruto and Kuoh entered the student council room which had a round table and chairs in it and the walls were painted light green. She took a seat in one of the chairs while Tsubaki stood behind her. He noted that she was a bit tense, but Four Eyes' body language was really calm. So, what's up? He asked sitting with his legs crossed and his fingers folded on his lap. It's come to our attention that your way of teaching is a bit crude, Sona said. What? You calling me a lousy teacher? Naruto retorted as he uncrossed his legs. No, a student complained about you outrightly refusing to help a student in need. When did I? He pondered for a moment before realization dawned on him. It's about that Gremory kid, Naruto had a feeling that was all this was about. That meant only one thing, this girl's a bat too. You seem a bit annoyed, Naruto-sensei. This is not something to scoff at. You refuse to help a student in need of your expertise and other students complain about your lukewarm attitude in class. You are one of the most intelligent teachers in school, having graduated from a prestigious university with a Ph.D. And you also. Naruto couldn't help but yawn because of the current situation he found himself in, the girl wouldn't just shut up. Yeah, so all you're trying to say is that I should smile more, right? Naruto asked. Naruto whatever she was about to say was interrupted when Naruto stood up from the chair he was in and made his way towards the door. I get it, Glasses-chan. I promise to be a good teacher from now on, Naruto said as he exited the room. What a mad out, Tsubaki scoffed. Sounda stared at her queen and couldn't help but give a nod of agreement. I think he's aware of the supernatural, but there's something about him that keeps me on edge. Who knows, maybe he possesses a low-level sacred gear, Sounda said. She remembered her new pawn, Saji, was ready to have a familiar and wondered if Rias wanted a familiar for her pawn too. Scene change. Kuoh Park. Stupid humans of this dimension. Naruto grabbed his hair and yanked at it in exasperation. The day was quite like any other day, except he had to introduce a new student to his homeroom class, Asia Argento, and it turns out that she knew the Haidu kid. The boys wouldn't shut about how cute Asia was, and even some female students thought he was in a relationship with her. Naruto cursed as he walked around the park and couldn't help but notice that the section he was in seemed empty. Like, he couldn't sense any human nearby. That only meant one thing, a magic barrier had been set up. As he was wondering who would place a magic barrier in a park of all places and why, his analysis was interrupted by a certain cat. Uzumaki Naruto. Kuroka screamed out as she emerged from a magic circle. The blonde shinobi couldn't help but groan in exasperation. What is it with you, Catwoman? He asked, clearly frustrated. Fight me? Kuroka took off at Naruto with her fist balled up and her cattails and ears out. The ninja easily sidestepped her attempt, letting her sail past him. I don't have the time for this, Catwoman, he said. Kuroka's pride took a blow when he not only refused her attempt to teach him how to control chakra, but also turned her attempt at teaching him senjutsu. That was unacceptable, and when she's done with him, he'd regret not letting her teach him. Come at me, Naruto. She rushed at him this time with a war cry, intending to get a punch in, but all her attempts to cause bodily harm to Naruto were futile. The blondie just dodged all her attempts with a bored face on. Frustrated, she jumped back to create distance between them and cast a fire spell at Naruto. Said shinobi stood idly looking at the ball of doom coming at him with a bored face on. Kuroka's eyes widened when he didn't move from his position, and a second later, her flames exploded upon contact with its target and a cloud of dust kicked up from the impact. Kuroka waited with bated breath for Naruto, and as the dust cleared out, she saw him inside a sand construct relatively unharmed. She knew it was going to take more than that to defeat him. She was merely testing the waters before she launched a full-scale assault. Last warning, Kuroka, I don't have time for this, Naruto warned, getting slightly serious. Kuroka gritted her teeth and took off at him again, but this time, she created 4 illusions of herself, and they all surrounded him. Naruto chuckled at the illusions and took a deep breath before he summoned 4 shuriken and threw them at all 4 Kurokas and did a one-handed tiger seal. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The projectiles multiplied and took out the illusions, while the real Kuroka charged up a lightning spell. As she was about to take aim, a tendril of sand wrapped around her feet before she could react and threw her at a tree. A huge tree cracked in two as Kuroka hit the trunk of the tree, small splinters flying around in the air as Naruto appeared in front of her face with a kunai in hand. She thought she had him put under an illusion, but it seems that he broke out of it easily. How? She asked in shock before she passed out, courtesy of a karate chop to the neck. Troublesome woman, the ramen-loving blonde sighed. Now he had to take care of her unconscious body. He carried her body bridal style and was about to hurriation her home before he heard the familiar voice of a certain student. Naruto-sensei. What are you doing here with an unconscious woman? Issei noticed it was an extremely hot woman. He cursed his luck in tears. Someone I know, Naruto sighed at the current situation before he walked away from the park. You have a hot friend, sensei? Issei asked. What happened to her? The brown-haired naughty asked curiously. She tripped and fell, Naruto answered. Issei face-planted at the sheer absurdity of his reply. How can a trip knock someone unconscious? You ask too many questions, Haidu. What happened to you? The blonde teacher inquired about the current condition of Issei. He looked like he just went through hell. Oh, I was training, Issei answered with pride. Why did you train? Naruto asked. What is your purpose for training? What drives you? For some reason, he immediately regretted asking that question. I want to become the harem king. Issei screamed in glee. He was the weakest member in Ria's peerage, and only high-class devils were eligible to have a harem. That's why he desired to power, strive harder to reach his goal. Naruto facepalmed when he heard his reasons. Why did I ask anyway? He picked up his pace. Wait for me, sensei. Let's go home together. The brown-haired naughty ran towards his sensei. Scene change. Uzumaki Mansion. The time read 5:15 p.m. when a ding rang from the kitchen and Kuroka woke up with a gasp. She wondered where she was before she remembered what happened in the park. That jerk. She barged into Naruto's room, but the blonde wasn't in. She checked the rooms upstairs, but still no sign of the blonde. She idly wondered why his house had a lot of rooms when he lived alone. She checked the kitchen and bathrooms and still no sign of Naruto. Her anger was rising to epic proportions, and she needed an object or a certain blonde to vent her anger on. She'd rather it be the latter. As she drew in Senjutsu chakra to find Naruto, her eyes widened to the size of dinner plates when she was bathed in calm, serene chakra which did wonders to her nerves and mind. She let out a purr of satisfaction, and she almost forgot about the blonde she was looking for. As she gathered herself, she quickly noticed that Naruto's bright chakra wasn't around the house or neighborhood. All she could do was enjoy the feel of Senjutsu. If this was Naruto's doing, then she really needs to ask him how he does it. She explored the house for a while before entering his spacious backyard which had different kinds of flowers and plants. She sighted Naruto on the floor in a meditation pose. She wondered how he looked so calm and peaceful for someone who walks around with a bored expression on his face. He was in front of her, but she couldn't sense him at all. It was as if he became one with nature. Hiroka smiled bitterly when she realized he was a sage. His connection with nature was on a different level entirely. Her chakra and senjutsu were inferior to his. He was a true sage. She almost regretted disturbing his meditating form almost. "Naruto-kun, when were you going to tell me you were a sage nya?" she asked as she walked closer to his position with her tail swaying happily behind her. The pigments around his upper eyelids faded away and a bead of sweat rolled down the side of his face. She could once again sense his warm bright chakra. "I'm hungry," he dully stated. Looks like the annoying Naruto was back online. "You blonde, human bastard. My pride as a Nekashu and Yakai is bleeding nya," she whined. "I'm hungry," he repeated, musing to himself. "What should I eat? Come on in, what would you like to eat?" Kuroka beamed and hopped off toward the back door. "Boy. It's my house, Dadabeo." He screamed at a retreating form, a tick mark appearing in his face. Kuroka placed a bowl of miso ramen in front of Naruto, his mouth watering as he split apart his chopsticks. "Itadekamasu." He wolfed down the first bowl of the evening. "So, you live alone? How about your parents?" Kuroka asked. "They're dead." "Oh. When did they die? Did they leave you this house?" "No. They died a long time ago," he replied after he took the second bowl from her. Who knew Senin mode could calm the agitated cat like this? "That's sad. Don't you have siblings or relatives?" "Too many questions, too little ramen." She rolled her eyes at his reply and doubled her ramen cooking speed. "Your chakra seems different from normal chakra, can you control sand with it?" Naruto nodded his head at her question, his mouth currently preoccupied to justify her with a verbal answer. She was kinda surprised to know that he could do that with chakra and that shuriken trick too. "How did you break out of my illusion so fast?" She asked the question that has been on her mind. "I'm impervious to illusions," Naruto answered as he slurped the last strand of noodles in the 8th bowl. "That's impossible. I understand you being resistant to it, but being impervious. That's a lie nya," she replied as she dropped the 10th bowl of ramen. "Whatever you say." Naruto replied nonchalantly. "Who taught you how to use senjutsu on a level like that?" Naruto dropped the bowl, patted his stomach and shifted his gaze to the clock which read 8:40 p.m. "That's enough questions for today." He stood up and made his way towards his room. "You can sleep in one of the guest rooms upstairs." When Naruto reached his bedroom entrance, he went through a short series of hand signs and whispered, "Jinjutsu. Kakuanjo no jutsu." He heard a clatter in the kitchen and laughed out loud after a panicked yell of "I can't see" came from Kuroka in the kitchen. That's what you get for calling me a liar." He grinned and went through another hand seal before all the defensive seals in his house activated. He wore his pajamas and dropped on the bed haphazardly. 9 poofs and the chibi bijks were on the bed with him. "Good night guys," he said as he shut his eyes. The next morning. A yawn escaped Naruto's lips as he stretched on the bed. He groggily left the bed and stumbled his way to the bathroom. He wondered if Kuroka had dispelled the illusion he put her under yesterday. It's been a while since he pranked anyone, and the sense of accomplishment was satisfying, albeit short-lived. For some reason, he had this feeling that this week was going to be really boring. Oh well, he'd better get ready for school. Naruto nodded at his reflection in the mirror. Never really fancied the color blue, but the blue suit looked just perfect on him, complementing his blue eyes. He strapped a Rolex on his wrist and was good to go. He left his house and decided to travel ninja style today. He enjoyed the rushing wind on his face. As he blurred from rooftop to rooftop, Kuoh Academy appeared in the distance, and he upped his speed. Landing on the floor with a soft thud, he took a steady gait towards the school's gate, and he couldn't help but notice a lot of girls and women eyeing him like he was some sort of candy. Fangirls. "Good morning class," Naruto greeted as he entered class 3B. Good morning sensei," they all chorused, surprised at the fact that their sensei wore a suit. "All beautiful blondes should just die." A male student cried out loud. "Settle down," Naruto ordered as he wrote the topic of the day on the board. He elaborated on it and asked if there were any questions. Receiving none, he noticed the new girl and Haidu weren't in class today. The resident devils were also missing. How strange. Naruto didn't give it much thought and summed it up to devil business. The rest of the day went by in a flash, boring and uneventful. Scene change. Uzumaki Mansion. Naruto dropped on the long couch in his house with a sigh. He laid his head on the armrest and his legs were on the other one. Finally some peace and quiet. His leisure time was interrupted by a certain woman who appeared via magic circle on top of him, rubbing her face on his chest. Naruto sighed again, this time in exasperation. There goes his peace and quiet. Naruto-kun, let's make babies nya, she said as she tried to unfasten his buttons. He took hold of her wrist and directed an emotionless stare at her. What's up with you and wanting babies? He asked. I want to have strong babies so I can repopulate my clan, she answered honestly. Naruto grabbed her by the waist and lifted her off him like a baby and dropped her beside him. What kind of yokai are you? A nekashu, a rare species of nekomata, she answered. So are you a nekashu or nekomata? Get straight to the point. Hiroka facepalmed at Naruto. Are you the last of your kind? He inquired. No, I have a little sister, Kuroka answered. Naruto hummed at that. She actually attends the same school you teach at. Naruto was surprised at that bit of information. A yokai was in that school. What's next? Angels. Fallen angels. Is her name perhaps Nikoko? Hineko. No, it's Naruto struggled with her name. Hineko. Kuroka raises her eyebrow, taking a guess for the blonde. Yes. That's it. He nodded. Kuroka's mood dampened and her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and her miserable look was augmented when her cat ears deflated. You guys have history? Naruto asked. Kuroka sniffed as she told him about her childhood and how she had to become a reincarnated devil in order to protect her little sister. She told him about how she killed her king and became a SS-class criminal to keep her sister safe. Naruto listened to it all without moving an inch. Her sacrifices reminded him of Itachi, and she was making the same mistake he did back then. "Chan, you remind me of someone I once knew. He killed off his entire clan to protect his village and above all, his little brother." Kuroka's eyes went wide in shock when she heard what Naruto said. He manipulated his brother to hate him, and that hate drove his brother to madness. He backstabbed his friends, joined a criminal organization, and even abandoned his own village for power to defeat his brother. Naruto said with a serious face. To be honest with you, all the cool guys I know were criminals. He remembered people like Nagato, Zabuza, Itachi, Obito, and even Madara. Don't push your little sister away, Kuroka. She deserves to know the sacrifice you made for her. Naruto used her name for the first time. Kuroka wiped off her tears as she stared at him in awe. Who knew the blonde had a side to him like this? Thank you, Naruto, she thanked him for understanding and using her name for the first time. The next day. Naruto entered the living room expecting to see Kuroka's sleeping form but found a note on the table. I have important business to attend to NYAPS. Don't miss me too much, Naruto-kun. He scoffed when he read it. Who's gonna miss you, you stupid cat? He dropped the letter on the table and went out. Naruto was on one of the dense trees inside a forest far from Kuoh. He decided to skip school today and purify nature energy today. He found a good spot and began meditating. Flashback. It's been a month since Naruto's fight with Daisuke, and ever since then, he's been trying to escape the hero faction who kept sending other people after him, mostly pawns in large numbers. They always seemed to know where he was holed in, no matter how good of a hiding place it was. He was inside a fortified forest which has served as his home for 2 weeks now. He ate different fruits from the trees around and rabbits for source of meat. The Bijks were still in their slumber and he hadn't found a way home. All he did was hone his skills and learn new ones. He even had different groups of clones working on Kaiten and Suiton jutsus he remembered from memory. He had tried to summon the toads from back at home, but no matter how much chakra he pumped into it, only the intricate dark pattern appeared. No poof of smoke. No giant orange toads. No space-time ninjutsu achieved. He was really angry that day, so he tried to summon them again and again and again before he was tired. He tried reverse summoning, but unfortunately, he couldn't reverse summon himself. When he tried to, he was pushed back violently as it felt like his body was disintegrating cell by cell. His tired form lay down on the clearing as he watched the cloud slowly drift off. He cursed his luck and punched a mini crater on the floor in exasperation. He tried to summon again, but this time, his Rinnegan activated. Fuchius no Jutsu. Poof. Naruto stared on at the massive cloud of smoke, hope, surprise and expectation etched into his face. An enormous 3-headed dog stood in front of Naruto, dampening his mood instantly. Alg excitement, down the drain. He sighed and dispelled the dog. Talking about the Rinnegan, Naruto's Rinnegan was different, he could use all 6 paths. He hadn't explored this new Rinnegan yet due to the fact that he hadn't mastered the base Rinnegan abilities. He could control up to 4 clones to harness the chakra and nature's energy, which wasn't abundant like in the elemental nations. Something else was in the air. It took a lot of meditation to enter Sage mode once again. He was even tempted to use Gakido to absorb chakra from nature one time, but he changed his mind because of his pride as a sage. Naruto noticed that every time he tried to enter Sage mode or when he was in Sage mode, it was like someone was trying to talk to him. Like someone was trying to summon him into a different plane. The connection itself was very weak and fragile, but there's something that's telling him not to find out what or who was calling him. In Sage mode, Naruto can sense supernatural beings within a given area. It required his utmost focus if the supernatural being was well hidden. Talking about modes, it seems his 6 paths chakra was much more powerful than ever. Having both powers of the yin and yang silsila had its perks. The Bijks were suffering from extreme chakra exhaustion, and the only way to wake them up is if they were in a place with high chakra concentration, and with the hero faction on his tails, the task was minimized. A light disturbance entered Naruto's range in Sage mode, and a second later, 6 clones leaf Shunshin to where Naruto was sitting. "Boss, they're here, hero faction members and their numbers are the largest they've sent so far," a clone said. Naruto closed his eyes and grit his teeth. He never really enjoyed killing or too much violence, he'd rather bring out the good in people, but these guys just don't know when to give up, and his patience was running thin. Naruto snapped, his eyes opened, and the fabled Rinnegan appeared in his eyes. "Let's give them a warm welcome, shall we?" All the clones went stone-faced, and they all disappeared into the forest to start the operation. But the hero faction. "What's so special about this guy exactly?" a random lackey asked. Said lackey was among a group of people sent to capture Naruto. "How did they know where he's at, you ask? Well, it's because they placed a tracking seal on the blonde shinobi. Their orders were to bring him back using extreme lethal force. The organization even sent some powerful members to apprehend him if he was proving too difficult. These orders were given by Kuoh himself. This guy took out Daisuke, man," another random lackey stated. "Yeah. And I heard he defeated dozens of other people, man," a brown-haired lackey stated. "HN, these guys are so noisy," a man with a sword and shield complained. This man was Perseus, the reincarnation of the demigod Perseus. "We should be hunting down devils," a man in a black coat grumbled. "This guy is going to fall to the power of my sacred gear," a man in white muscle shirt and gray pants boasted. "I wouldn't be so arrogant if I were you," Perseus warned. He knew the blonde wasn't any pushover, even though Daisuke was a low-ranking member lucky enough to have achieved balance breaker, his sword skills were good. A sudden heavy fog descended on the group, and Perseus knew this fog wasn't a normal occurrence. "Stay sharp, boys, this is the enemy's doing," he warned. The cold chuckle rang from every direction around the fog. 8 kill points, which one shall I start with? The voice seemed like multiple people were talking at once, cold chills ran down their spines, feeling a cage-level shinobi's pure killing intent for the first time. A scream of terror rang out before a squelching sound reached the ears of everyone. A body fell later and all hell broke loose. Bodies started dropping around like dominoes. Perseus kept a level head through the clandestine assault, and he deduced that this fog was actually a camouflage for Naruto. They need to remove the fog screen. "Clear the fog." He screamed out, and most of them caught onto his idea immediately. A few wind-based sacred gear users used their powers to clear out the fog. As the fog cleared out, 6 Naruto surrounded them, all armed with kunes. They sneered in contempt at what they thought were magic illusions as the clones rushed forward, paying them no heed in favor of looking around for the original. One of them even taunted Naruto to come out and stop hiding before a clone kicked him square in the face. Multiple gasps came out from the hero faction members upon seeing doppelgangers draw blood from their comrades. All of them had shock written all over their faces, and a battle between clones and sacred gear-powered humans ensued. As the battle went on, Perseus analyzed every one of Naruto's moves, and he couldn't recognize the style he was using. "It seems this guy can multiply himself, huh?" Perseus pondered before one man stabbed a clone of Naruto with his sacred gear, and, a second later, the stabbed Naruto poofed out of existence. "It seems like one attack is all that is needed to take out these clones of his," he mused. 5 other poofing sounds followed later as the clones were defeated. Perseus, the black-hooded man, and Yagi, the arrogant one, along with a few low-ranking members remained. "No, I've been angry and frustrated lately," the original Naruto perched atop a tree said. All the remaining members turned their gaze to him, and a member with a discerning sacred gear knew he was the original and warned the rest about it. "Naruto Uzumaki, come with us peacefully and we'll forgive you for your actions," Perseus tried to reason with the blonde. "I have no intention of joining you, and I'd rather you stop sending people to apprehend me. It's becoming more of a bother lately," Naruto replied. "Let him." Perseus ordered and the remaining low-ranking member charged. Naruto made quick work of them and 4 men stood in the small clearing. You're not bad, but your sacred gear's power is below mine, Yagi boasted. Let me show you the difference between you and me. Yagi held his right wrist with his left hand. The hand mutated into a furry red limb with a long, sharp claw. This is my sacred gear, Daibutsuten. He screamed with glee as he charged at Naruto, and the black hooded guy followed. Naruto, who was bare-chested with a black, tight pants on, lowered his body a bit and waited for Yagi to charge at him. His punch was very sloppy, and the shinobi easily ducked under it with a kunai in hand, ready to cut off the offending arm, before he was forced to block a punch from the hooded guy. The latter went for a haymaker, but Naruto brought his second hand to block again, and Naruto was clinched. Yagi took this opportunity and brought down just transformed hand hard down on Naruto with a cry. Not so tough now, are you? Yagi asked as he expected to see a downed Naruto under his arm as the dust dissipated. He was dumbstruck when he found a log where Naruto was supposed to be. Ryuden. Renkuden. Naruto went through hand seals and spat a cannonball-shaped wind at them. The black hooded guy shot a ball of fire at the incoming wind and the fire attack gained more power as it flew at greater speed and size at Naruto. Naruto backflipped out of its path as it set dozens of trees ablaze. The fire user. Naruto noted as he dropped down. He went through another hand seals and he breathed in deeply. Kaiten. Kakakyu no Jutsu, he called out the name of his technique as a truck-sized ball of fire came out of his mouth. Yagi's eyes widened when the scorching flame came at them. The hooded guy responded with his own white flames, cancelling both flames out. This guy is no pushover, Yagi, I suggest you become serious, the hooded guy admonished. Yagi gritted his teeth out of frustration because he had to use his balance breaker. His balance breaker allowed him to transform into any kind of mystic animal he wants. He took the form of a red, six-eyed giant beast with white bone armor around its midsection, arms and tails. He roared and charged at Naruto on all fours. The ground shook and trees toppled as he neared the blonde shinobi, with both fists raised up and joined together. The shinobi took a massive leap over his hammer fist, easily avoiding the attack. Pain. Enden. Naruto breathed a stream of fire on the beast while he was upside down in the air. The flames covered the red beast, and it raged on as Naruto landed. Yagi transformed into a dragon-like beast with 2 pairs of insect wings as he fanned the fire away from his body. Aren't you forgetting about me? The hooded guy threw a punch at Naruto which was ignited with white flames as a ball of flame passed through Naruto's face. He took a step back and brought his fist to block a jab, he redirected a palm strike and slapped a flaming punch away. He noticed his hands were singed off a bit even though he actively tried to avoid touching the cloaked man. He jumped up and away and the cloaked man followed. Caught up in his fast-paced skirmish with the cloaked man, he noticed the dragon beast tails its tails a tad late. He managed to turn in time and absorb most of the impact with his hands, but he was rocketed forward by the force behind the tail, headed on a collision course with the hooded guy. He lit his fist up and buried it in Naruto's stomach, scoring a punch in. Naruto coughed up blood and went on his knees, going through a fit of cough, gripping his stomach in pain. I don't have time for this, he said coldly. Naruto chuckled, let out a smirk, and alarms went blaring in Perseus's mind. Art is an explosion. The shinobi did a one-handed tiger seal and exploded right in front of the hooded guy who was sent skidding across the floor with his cloak burning off. He exploded. A wide-eyed Perseus was having a hard time believing that the shinobi just committed suicide. Just when he finally came to terms with the fact that Naruto was dead, a cry of Ryuden. Kazekiri no Jutsu. Made Yagi's blood run cold. Wind blades came out of Naruto's hands and cut off the limbs of Yagi's transformed state. He roared in pain as he fell without his limbs for support. The down-headed man earlier stood up to receive the Uzumaki Renden performed by the clones of Naruto. Yagi transformed again into a huge snake this time as he charged at Naruto with his fangs dripping poison. The charging snake reminded Naruto of a certain time in his youth. I will not be swallowed by a snake again. His eyes shone in defiance. Poof. Another clone of Naruto descended from above with a huge Rasengan, which was big enough to cover the snake's head entirely as it grinded its skin to mush. The snake transformed back into a bleeding Yagi in the crater created by Naruto's attack. Most of the forest had been destroyed, and their fight was bound to attract attention without a barrier. This fight has gone on too long, Uzumaki Naruto, Perseus grimaced. I'm afraid I am going to have to end this in an instant, he said as he unsheathed his sword. Naruto had a feeling this guy was different from the other, and he was proven right when he blurred into existence in front of him with his sword about to stab him through the heart. He quickly substituted with a log and he appeared behind Perseus with an Hiraishin kunai ready to pierce his spine. Perseus used his sword to slap Naruto's kunai away and he used his shield to block Naruto's haymaker. He kicked Naruto's unprotected midsection, and Naruto flew back due to the power behind the kick. He righted himself midair and landed on both feet. "Just come with us, Uzumaki-san," Perseus said. "Why do you want me so bad?" the shinobi asked. "Your abilities would be very useful for the hero faction," he answered. "I'm sorry but I can't join you. I can't afford to join any organization," Naruto said. "A shame really. Perhaps we can come to a negotiation?" he asked in hope. Naruto pondered for a while and he made up his mind. "Forget it. We can't come to a negotiation." The shinobi wondered if he could find someone in their ranks that could help him get back home, but dismissed the thought because these people wouldn't let him go. "Your sacred gear is quite unique, Uzumaki-san. It feels a lot like chakra, but what you are doing is impossible for a yokai," Perseus stated. There was that word again, yokai. The word seemed to have a link with chakra, Naruto thought, but it couldn't be true, right? "Tell me about these youkais," Naruto requested. More like ordered. "You know nothing about them and you live in Japan?" Perseus asked as if it was something Naruto should know. "Just answer me," Naruto screamed out in frustration. Perseus dropped into another stance. "You'll have to beat that out of me," he said. Naruto narrowed his eyes, and then his chakra levels spiked for a second before Perseus couldn't feel his energy anymore. Perseus' eyes dilated to epic proportions at the sudden development. He had only one hypothesis in mind and he didn't like it one bit. This guy was on a level he couldn't comprehend. "I'm sorry but many people are counting on me," Naruto said as his face became emotionless. Naruto raised one hand up as a Rasen Shuriken came to life in his hand, accompanied by JT's loud screeching sound. Perseus knew he had to act fast because of the amount of energy he felt in that technique. He didn't even want to know what would happen when that attack hit its target. He knew he had to act fast or he was toast. The Puto Medusa and Minare Rizishin Nido. Perseus had activated his balance breaker. Medusa's head flew off of Perseus's shield, grew in size, and stayed afloat in midair. The snakes on his blade came to life and charged at Naruto. Naruto reared his hands back. Medusa's eyes opened. The snakes were 4 feet away from Naruto. The shinobi leaned forward and threw his technique at Perseus with a cry of Futen. Rasen Shuriken. The snake stood no chance against the technique as it cut through them and took off at a frightening speed at Perseus. He brought up the shield. Medusa's eyes charged up a green beam. Naruto stared at the floating head. A bright light engulfed the whole forest. Flashback end. It was evening when the shinobi was done purifying nature around the forest. Shinobi opened his eyes to see a group of fallen angels and a priest surrounding him with light spears and holy weapons pointed at him. "Oh look, it's a group of crows a murder," Naruto laughed at his own pun. "Devil-loving trash." A female fallen angel screeched. "We will purify your tainted soul." Naruto sighed. "Do I look like a bat to you?" he questioned, still seated on the ground. "Shut up, devil lover." The priest screamed out as the 4 of them charged at Naruto. Issei was out jogging for the last day of their training before the raiding game. He knew he was the weakest member of Ria's peerage, but there was this chibi Issei with devil wings on his shoulders screaming out Asia. Asia. Damn it. He screamed out. At least she was better at magic than he was. He sucked at it, but he still wanted to protect her. There was something about her smile, her countenance, and how his mood brightened up every time he saw her. He wanted to be strong enough to protect her, and, maybe then, he could be rewarded with the sight of naked Oppai. Riser's peerage had lots of Oppas. "Lund bastard." Issei screamed out with anime tears. As he was lamenting his lack of touchy-feely of Oppai, he sensed a familiar energy. A familiar fear gripped him but this time, it wasn't as worse as before. He picked up his pace as the boosted gear appeared on his arm. "Boost." A voice called out from his gauntlet as his speed doubled. A minute later he came to a halt behind a tree. He could see a group of fallen angels and they had their weapons out, pointed at a blond man sitting on the floor. He heard the man ask them a question, and then it clicked. That dull tone, it was the Breedy sensei. And he was in danger. Issei knew he stood no chance against 3 fallen angels and a priest, but he knew he could at least fend them off, so as to buy time for his sensei. As he was about to intervene. But Naruto. A moment ago, Naruto's eyes twitched violently. It was as if someone had wronged him. Someone called him Breedy. There was no way in hell he would allow someone to compare him with an Uchiha bastard. Naruto Uzumaki doesn't brood. Don't know how. What he was doing all this time was called selective participation, not brooding. "Curse you, Sasuke. Even in death you still torture me." Naruto sighed at the slow speed of the crows who were trying to purify his soul. "This one is for Sasuke." Lightning danced around his body and loud chirping sounds filled the forest. "Todori Nagashi." Lightning danced from his body and traveled through the ground before it engulfed all of them. The lightning died down to show an unharmed Naruto wiping off imaginary dust from his clothes and 4 unconscious or maybe dead bodies on the floor smoking. Issei stood there with his mouth agape and his legs shaking violently. Naruto-sensei was not human. His sensei just took out 3 fallen angels and 1 priest in a single attack. Hell, he didn't even move. Issei hightailed out of there faster than he could say oppai. Chapter 6. The underworld, home of the devils, was certainly not what a lot of people would expect. It wasn't all flames and suffering and wails of poor souls as they received divine punishment for the sins they have committed, nor was it a place filled with grotesque winged beings. This underworld was quite nice and beautiful, with buildings and fountains and rivers etc., not too different from Earth itself, except the lack of a star to brighten the day. It was indeed a sight to behold in all of its devilish glory. Today, an historic battle was taking place in the underworld, a battle that decides the fate of the Red Ruined Princess. Her future, her freedom hangs in the balance, on the shoulder of her peerage, her naughty pawn to be precise. Riser and his peerage versus Rias and her peerage. The battle for Ria's hand in marriage begins now. In a particular dimension, one brown-haired naughty was getting his ass beat by a certain blazing chicken. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Issei bitterly wondered why this was happening. He trained his ass off just to save his butchu from this horrible fate of her being forced to marry a despicable devil like Riser, but even with all of his training, his body gave out on him due to the multiple boasts he attempted, and, now, his weak prone body was on the floor. All he could think of was Ria's tears as she begged Riser to stop hurting her pawn, forfeiting in a desperate wail filled with despair, to save his life, as his eyelids became too heavy for him to keep open, and the bliss of unconsciousness took him away from this hell pun intended. 2 days later. Issei Haidu woke up with a gasp and no memory of what happened in the climax of the raiding game. An image of Ria's crying while hugging Riser flashed through his mind. "It seems you've awoken," Grafia Lucifuge said as the magic circle she used faded away. Issei immediately asked about Ria's and what happened, and she explained it all to him. How Riser threatened to kill him and how Ria's had to give up to save her precious pawn. Fresh tears streamed Issei's eyes as he lamented his inability to keep the promise he made. Grafie tried to tell him it was inevitable as he was a young and inexperienced devil, but still, it hurts to know how weak he was and the sacrifice she made. Grafia let Issei collect himself before she brought out a paper with a magic circle on it and presented it to him. "It's not too late, Issei-san." The stoic tried her best to make a reassuring expression on her face. Issei took the paper and stared at her in confusion while scratching his scalps. "But these, you can get to the wedding party," Grafia explained. Issei's face contorted with anger at her implications. "Are you telling me to attend the party?" Grafia sighed and took in a deep breath before she relayed the Mau's message to Issei, word for word. "If you want my sister back, barge into the hall and ask for a rematch, those are Surzich's Sama words," she said as a white magic circle teleported her back to the underworld. Issei stared at the paper for a moment before Asia entered his room and expressed how happy she was to see him. He told her he was going back to the underworld to bring Ria's back, but Asia wanted to go with him. He declined her offer and made a promise instead. A promise to bring back Ria's no matter what. "There's something I want you to do for me, Asia, and only you can do it," he said. "I'll do anything," Asia nodded. Issei whispered to her ear and she exited his room to get what he wanted. Scene change. Naruto's house. A certain blonde shinobi stared at the white ceiling with total boredom. His boredom was so great, a black aura surrounded him and a vision of a masked silhouette wearing ninja garb crossed his mind. It has been a week and 2 days now and his predictions were true. No sight of the young bats in Kuoh Academy. The Catwoman too wasn't around and for a while he enjoyed it before his boredom caught up to him again. The shinobi turned his head to a clatter behind him to see Kurama munching on a piece of meat and the other bijks just doing their thing. "Oi, Minna, I'm bored, Dadabeo," Naruto said as he interlocked both hands and brought them behind his head. All the bijks froze. "Aboard, Naruto? Again? Hey, let's not lose our heads here, you could go buy one of those things those teenagers love so much," Son Goku said. "You mean a video game?" Naruto asked. They all nodded in unison. "Not interested," he groaned. The bijk started sweating bullets before the doorbell rang and saved the day. Naruto stared at the door for a while as the ringing continued. He got up and walked towards the door and saw it was Issei on the display screen. The boy looked a bit disturbed if his posture was anything to go by. "Sensei." Issei screamed at the door. "I know you're in there, Sensei. Please hear me out," he begged. The doorknob twisted immediately as the visage of his sensei appeared. "What do you want, kid?" he said distastefully. Issei kneeled and bowed his head. "Please teach me, Sensei." Issei screamed with his head touching the floor. Naruto's eyebrow disappeared into his hair as he scratched his temple in confusion. "You're not making any sense, Haidu." "What I mean is to teach me how to fight," he begged. "Fight? Fight?" he scoffed. "What makes you think I can teach you?" he asked. "I know how strong you are. I saw you take out fallen angels without moving from where you were, Issei said. So he was the one, huh? Naruto remembered sensing someone when he took out those crows, but it vanished a second later. Look, Haidu, I can't teach you anything at all, the shinobi said. Please Naruto-sensei. I'll do anything. Issei was prepared to do anything. Anything you say? What if I told you to betray that Gremory girl and your friends? He said with a calm face. Issei froze on the floor, not expecting the blonde shinobi's price to be this steep. The brown-haired naughty opened his mouth, but no words came out. Naruto stared at the clouds above, it was becoming habitual of him, like an old man reminiscing about the past. He sighed deeply. Tell me, kid, why do you want power? What is it you truly want to achieve with it? He asked as he stared at Issei right in the eye. Issei remembered Naruto had asked him a question like this before, but he blabbered without giving the question a deep thought. Now that he was in a situation like this, it was all clear to him now, the reason why he wanted power. He balled his fist hard and took a deep breath. I don't really want absolute power. What I want is the power to save Rias from a terrible fate. Power to keep my friend safe. That's enough for me, he said with fire burning in his eyes, looking straight at Naruto's blue orbs. Naruto stared at him, he stared and stared and stared so much it made Issei cringe. Naruto looked at the uncomfortable boy on his knees in front of him, and his stoic expression slowly morphed into a wicked smirk. Meet me in that forest in 10 minutes, Haidu, he said, pointing at the forest in the distance as he closed the door. Issei stared at the white door in astonishment before he jumped in happiness, and he sped off towards his house to get ready. Boy, what are you planning, Naruto? Kurama asked. Nothing really. Just wanted to help him out. He might be a naughty boy lacking in a whole lot of things, but his heart is where it should be. He has a mini will of fire in him, Kurama. Kurama's eyes widened when he heard Naruto compliment Issei. Ever since they landed on this dimension, Naruto rarely compliments anyone. The last person he complimented was that little Kikbi. H.N., if you say so. Kurama grumbled. What are you going to teach him? Chimei asked curiously. Scene change. Inside the forest. Naruto was in front of Issei, and said boy was in a position worthy of a private in front of a general. Now tell me, Haidu, what are your abilities? Issei's eyes shined, and he immediately summoned the boosted gear into his hands. I have the boosted gear which doubles my powers every 10 seconds. Though there is a limit to how much I can boast, Issei explained as Drag, the dragon inside him, watched with enthusiasm. He wondered what the human would teach his partner. That's a pretty neat ability for a sacred gear, he complimented. If it doubles your power every 10 seconds, then all we have to do is increase your base power, he explained with a hand on his chin. I don't follow, sensei, Issei was lost. Naruto sighed. If you had a base form with a power of 10 units, and with your boosted gear at its limit, it turns it to 50 units, then if your base form was upgraded from 10 units to 30 units, then your boosted gear's limit would also increase. Your base form is directly proportional to the amount of times you can boost. Do you get it? Naruto explained. In the pure world back at the elemental nation. Boy, what is this? Why do I feel so proud of Naruto? Kakashi asked as he was playing poker with Minato and Kushina. Sasuke too felt the swell of pride inside him. HN, it seems the Dobe's brain cells finally healed from all the damage it amassed from all these years, huh? Sasuke-kun, you're making progress. That's the longest sentence I have ever heard you speak, Mikoto gushed. Sasuke blushed at his mom's praise. Kushina and Minato could help but adopt a smug grin on their faces. That's my Sachi. Go, Naruto. Back inside the seal. All the Bijks actually had to cross-check if this was the Naruto they knew. Wow, he's come a long way, hasn't he? Tears of joy streamed down Kurama's face. Yeah. The rest of the Bijks chorused with anime tears. Back in reality. Oh, I get it now. Realization dawned on Issei's face. First off, I'll build your endurance, next is durability. Naruto paced back and forth, his hands behind him as he talked. Let's start with the basics, push-ups. Issei nodded reluctantly. Push-ups seemed unnecessary at this point. What he expected was a new flashy technique or a new combat technique. Of all the things he expected, push-ups definitely wasn't among them. Now, don't think I'd go lenient on you, son. You are a devil and you're much stronger than an average human. Naruto barked back in sensei mode. Hi. Issei screamed with a salute. Are you ready to build some endurance? Hi. Are you ready to break your limits? Yeah. Give me 1,000 push-ups. Hi. Issei croaked with less enthusiasm. Go on then. Naruto yelled at Issei. He immediately went to the floor and started doing push-ups. His arms were about to give out at his 35th push-up before Naruto slapped him with a Raiden-enhanced hand on the back. Start again. What have I gotten myself into? Issei thought as he cried anime tears. I've been bored lately, Haidu make sure you survive Guy-sensei's beginner's training routine muahaha. Naruto stared at the suffering Issei with sick glee. 1256. Issei screamed on top of his lungs as he dropped down on the forest floor after running laps around the forest, and he had to dodge the stones Naruto threw at him. Those stones hurt like a stupid girl. The only thing he regretted was not riding his will before coming to the forest to meet his blasted sensei. He had been made to try exercises he didn't know about. How was he supposed to walk on his fingers around the forest with a boulder attached to his back? That's enough for today's warm-up, Haidu. Naruto crossed his arms on his chest. He stared at the kid's overall state and whistled. The boy's red sweatsuit was in tatters. What were the clothes of this dimension made from? He idly wondered. Now, Haidu, I want you to aim your strongest technique at that hill. Naruto pointed at a hill in the distance. Issei, who was painting on the floor, got up to a wobbly stance. Aim my strongest attack at that hill. He pointed at the hill. Did I stutter? The blonde teacher glared at his student. Alright sensei. Boosted gear. He called out. The gauntlet charged up, a pale red energy ball condensing in his hand. Naruto's pupil dilated a fraction at the amount of power in the orb. Issei threw his gauntlet-covered fist at the hill with a primal roar. Organ Shadow. The result was a bit more devastating than that of when he first used it. The hilltop was completely shaved off. Not bad for a perv. Naruto stated before Issei went down on his knees due to exhaustion. Have you achieved balance breaker? Naruto asked. What's a balance breaker? Issei questioned. Naruto faceted him incredulously. Do you even talk to the being inside you? Not much, he talked to me in my dreams twice. Issei answered. Black filled Issei's vision rapidly as Naruto proceeded to chop him in the neck. Issei woke up with a gasp and the forest was bathed in the evening rays of the sun. Sensei. Issei cried out in anger. I'm right here Haidu Naruto called out, sitting beside him calmly in a cross-legged position. An orange pigmentation fading from his eyelids. Did you talk to it? Naruto asked. You should have told me that you wanted me to talk to him. Issei screamed at Naruto's face. It's a he. Yes. Drag, I know you're listening to us. Come out. Issei spoke to his right wrist. That seemed interesting to Naruto. At least he did better than he did when he first tried to talk to Kurama. Oh, where did the good old days, when he was nothing but an arrogant brat with too much chakra, fly to? The boosted gear suddenly covered Issei's arm and the gem on it shone brightly before a deep voice boomed out from it. I am the Welsh dragon, the Red Dragon Emperor, Drag introduced himself. Here they go again, is it Wisher Red or Dragon or Emperor or just Drag? Introduce yourself with one name. Naruto groaned out. Issei stared at his sensei with a sweat drop. Drag is fine, human, Drag said. Okay then drugged it is, Naruto finalized. Drag's eyes twitched inside the gauntlet. How can this little bat here achieve balance breaker? Naruto asked. You seem to know a thing or two about sacred gears. Don't mind my suspicion, I am merely looking out for my partner. Don't worry your dragon-breathing ass, drugged. If I wanted this bat dead, he wouldn't see it coming, Naruto stated with a wave of his hand. It was weird talking to Issei's wrist. My partner needs to have a change of heart or spirit, Drag explained. Yeah, that's gonna take forever. Naruto cleaned his ear out. Isn't there another way? Issei asked his partner. He could sacrifice an arm, the Welsh dragon said. And an arm? Oh hell no, Ice wasn't about to get handicapped. Not like that, partner. Your hand would turn draconic. Your hand would become that of a dragon, Drag elucidated. Well that beats having your soul ripped out of your body, Naruto sighed with a smile. Nostalgia was hitting him hard, memories of when Kurama was still a grumpy, moody fox went through his mind. Said Fox scoffed inside the seal. Drag and Issei stared at Naruto like he had grown another head. Last day of training. The forest in the outskirts of Kuoh. Keep your defense up, Haidu. Naruto called out as he and Issei were engaged in a taijutsu fight. Naruto remembered the first time he had a hand-to-hand combat with Issei, it was totally one-sided. A genin could throw a better punch than he did. Everything he did was telegraphed so much Naruto wanted to pull his hair out in frustration. He had to refine his basic stance and a whole lot of other things to get him where he was. Hi, sensei. Issei screamed out as he ducked under a haymaker and tried to sweep Naruto off his feet, which Naruto front flipped off and brought down an axe kick aimed for his head, which Issei countered with both hands. You can do this, Issei-san. Asia cheered out from the sidelines. Naruto glanced at the vote of confidence from the sidelines. The little blonde bat proved quite useful for Issei's training. She vehemently followed Issei to one of their training sessions, and when a particularly nasty kick sent a distracted Issei flying away with blood cascading from Issei's wound, Asia ran up to him and healed him. Naruto's eyes widened for a moment when he saw her heal Issei with a technique that looked a lot like the Shinsen no Jutsu. It must have been her Sacred Gear's ability. He later adopted a diabolical smile and he went hardcore on Issei's ass. The blonde bat no girl was more than happy to help. Asia was too gentle to be called a bat, Naruto mused. The day was the last day of his training with Naruto and he had only one goal to achieve for Naruto to deem him ready. He was to touch Naruto's chest and it wasn't easy at all. The blonde teacher wouldn't just let him near an inch of his chest, slapping his hands away every time he got too close. The blonde had been on defense ever since Naruto switched on the timer and he started using the boosted gear off the bat. His sacred gear was on for crying out loud. But he was going to persevere. He was going to win, he promised. I will touch you, Naruto-sensei. He screamed out as his gauntlet-covered arm went towards Naruto's chest. He was battered and bruised with swollen lips and eyes swollen enough that he was only able to partially open them. He boosted himself once again and focused it into his arms and legs. Yes, Naruto taught him how to focus his boosted abilities into parts of his body. Asia also helped heal his exploded arms when he tried to attempt it. He dipped his feet into the ground and screamed out with all his might. Naruto brought his hands towards the incoming hand in a slapping motion. It was too late. Issei finally touched Naruto, an indescribable sense of joy filled him as Naruto's lips curved up a bit into a smirk. Issei stumbled backward. He balled both fists a spin in the air and gave a mighty cry to the sky before he blacked out. Naruto caught his collar before he reached the ground. You did well, Issei, sleep for now. The day. So this paper will take you to the underworld? Naruto asked as he stared at the paper with fascination. A seal master was looking at a paper that had space-time abilities with glee. Well, if that seal master was Naruto, then it was fine. Yes, sensei, Issei answered as he channeled a bit of magic into the paper and dropped it on the floor. Well then, good luck, Naruto said as Issei stepped on the red magic circle. Good luck, Issei-san. Asia waved at Issei as he disappeared and all that remained was tiny magic sparkles in the air. May the logs be with you, Haidu, the shinobi said in a short prayer. Scene change. The underworld. A whole lot of devils were gathered together inside a hall in Hades to commemorate the engagement of one Rias Gremory and Issei, Riser Phoenix. Yeah, the chicken who won fair and square was about to make a statement or a toast or whatever grooms did in their marriage ceremony. Rias was beside him garbed in an exquisite white armless gown which was barely concealing her bountiful watermelons. The Phoenix clan and Gremory clan members were present. Even the Citri clan and other pillar clans were present in the hall. Ria's peerage minus Issei were there and Sona and her peerage were there too. Ladies and gentle devils, I thank everyone here on behalf of my family. The reason why I called everyone here today was for you all to witness the joining of the Phoenix clan and Gremory clan. This. While Riser was having his fancy speech, they all heard a bang and screams of terror followed. Who is that? Who dares to interrupt Riser? Riser's face contorted in anger. The whole hall went silent as they all stared at the door. Outside the hall, a moment ago. Stop the intruder. A devil guard pointed at the advancing Issei. Issei took out two devils with a roundhouse kick and thrust both palms into a charging devil guard. He quickly disposed of the others, his sight set on the door and he was going to knock like any gentleman would. Issei ran towards the front of the door, reared his leg and gave a mighty kick to the door. It flew open with a bang. The worthy gentleman knock indeed. Everyone was startled when the door suddenly opened and a brown-haired boy ran in. Play the raising fighting spirit. But you? He called out to Rias. Rias was surprised to see Issei in Hades. She thought he wouldn't attend her engagement party because he couldn't live with his failure, but yet again, it seems that Issei Haidu had exceeded her expectations and left her impressed. I'm Issei Hayado, pawn of Rias Gremory, and her is mine. I want a rematch, Riser. I want Butchu back. Issei screamed out. Rias was happy when she heard that, ignoring the part, her cute pawn came to her rescue. Issei Haidu might be a naughty, but this naughty was about to save her from the horrible fate her family forced on her. It was a big understatement to say that Riser was angry. He was beyond furious. A low-level devil wasn't about to ruin his engagement party. You bastard. Get him, guards. Riser cried and 6 guards ran in front of Issei, ready to apprehend him before Kiba, Akeno, and Koneko took them out. You came after all, Issei, Akeno said. You're late, Koneko said with her ever-present emotionless face on as they cleared a path for him. Go Issei. They all chorused. All the devils in the hall had bewilderment written all over their faces. What is the meaning of this? Riser demanded. This is something I set up. Surzich's Gremory, the Mayu of the underworld made his first appearance, with Grafia beside him. I watched the rating games and, frankly, the whole game wasn't worthy to be called a rating game. This is my little sister's wedding. Might as well make it a memorable one. Riser had a hunch of what Surzich's endgame would be. Hey, boy. He shifted his attention to Issei. I would like to see the boosted gear in action, he said. Everyone who wasn't from Kuoh Academy had their eyes widened to the size of dinner plates. This low devil had the boosted gear. Talk about instant fame. I see. In other words, you want a battle between a phoenix and a dragon. Riser narrowed his eyelids. Issei, don't. That's enough, you can't defeat him. Riaz tried to persuade Issei to keep him safe. I will definitely win, but you. I was trained by someone really powerful. He said as the boosted gear appeared in his hands. This time I'm going to keep my promise. I swear. He said with fire in his eyes. Riaz and Kuoh were thinking about the mystery man that helped Issei and how strong he had become in a span of 1 week if the aura of confidence radiating off of Issei was anything to go by. What would you like as your reward if you win? Surzich's asked Issei. Money, power or women? Issei stared at Riaz. I just want Butchu back, he replied. Riaz's heart fluttered at his words, a pink blush staining her cheek. Well, it's decided then. Let the game begin, Surzich's ordered. Inside the rating game dimension. After all the impromptu preparation for the face-off between both devils, Issei stood opposite of Riser with his boosted gear on. He remembered his training with Naruto. Flashback. So you mean to tell me that he has to sacrifice his arm to gain balance breaker, drugged? Naruto said with his bored face on. It's drag, sensei, Issei corrected. Yes. The Welsh dragon's voice boomed from within the gauntlet. No, that won't do. Isn't there another way? Naruto asked. I'll do it. I don't care if I have to sacrifice my hands or eyes for Riaz. The shinobi chopped Issei on the head hard. Well, that sounds brave, I'm sure there's another way, right, drugged? Naruto stared at the gauntlet, waiting for Drake to reply. Yes, there is a way. If his life is in mortal danger, Drake answered. Naruto's face morphed from one of extreme boredom to one of sick glee. His smirk widened so much it almost split his face. For some reason, Asia prayed hard for Issei when she saw Naruto's smirk. Naruto stood up and all of Issei's senses told him to run and never look back. As he tried to crawl away from the impending danger, his eyes widened when he heard Naruto. My master once threw me off a cliff to force me to perform a technique he was teaching me. Fortunately or unfortunately for you, there's no cliff around here, so I have to beat the shit out of you. Hey, wait a second, don't I have a say in this? Issei asked fearfully. Issei lost sight of Naruto for a second before his eyes registered Naruto right in front of him and he still had that infuriating smirk on. He wondered what Naruto was doing before he felt an unholy pain around his stomach area and was launched away by the force of Naruto's attack. Now, Naruto wasn't really that heartless as to use a Rasengan on the brown-haired perv. All he did was perform a lightning-fast chakra-enhanced 1-inch punch on Issei. He stared as Issei rocketed away before he shunshined above Issei in the air and drop-kicked him in the stomach. Issei's body was launched downward as wind and dust picked up around the little crater he was lying on. Hey partner. Are you alright? Drake called out in concern for Issei. All heroes power up in a life and death situation. This rule is absolute. Naruto explained as he watched Issei struggle back to his feet. It seems Drake gave him a boost, but unfortunately, it was futile. Issei didn't see the uppercut that lifted him off the floor. All he felt was the pain a second later. He felt his body lift off the ground, but a hand, Naruto's hand no doubt, grabbed his legs, his moment coming to a screeching halt and slammed him back into the forest floor. As his body rebounded off the floor, a brutal kick to the ribs sent him rolling through the forest, toppling trees before his body skidded to a halt. This is bad. This guy means business. Come on partner. Let's show him the power of the boosted gear. Don't you dare black out on me. Drake's voice was muffled out by Issei's ringing ears. Naruto stared at Issei's form and winced a bit. His lips were bruised and swollen, blood cascaded from his head and one of his eyes was covered in blood. His shirt was already gone when he launched his first attack. He was doing this for Issei. The boy didn't know about the dangers lurking around the shadows, how hard it was to be involved in the supernatural world. He was just a poor kid with op-eye fantasies. He had to learn this the harsh way. The Red Dragon Emperor, you say? Don't joke with me. I thought dragons were supposed to be prideful animals. Where is the resolve I saw in you, Issei? Naruto's voice was cold like that of a killer. Naruto did a horse hand sign. If you don't activate your balance breaker, you will die, Issei. You are nothing but a foolish boy making promises without the power to back it up. Show me your resolve, Haidu, Naruto stated as he brought his hands towards his mouth. The fire chakra within his stomach was begging to be unleashed and all he had to do was breathe it out. Pain. Gakumasitsu. Naruto breathed a narrow stream of fire at the downed Issei. The chakra flames burned everything in its path to ashes, the flames roaring as it rushed towards Issei. Suddenly, a thumping sound filled Issei's ear, drowning out the noise of the flames. Is this how I die? Is this it? I promised her. I promised everyone. He thought, lying on the ground unmoving. Naruto sighed in disappointment that he didn't feel any emotional change, and Issei, cold despair gripped his entire being. He did a hand sign ready to replace himself with Issei, but his guts told him to wait and watch. I refuse to die like this. I want to see her smile. I want to make her happy. Issei felt a new wave of power as he screamed out his lungs. The green gem on the gauntlet shone brightly as a wave of power filled him. Overboost. Drake bellowed. The fire died down, and Naruto saw Issei standing in an incomplete red armor that exposed his feet, head and biceps, his eyes narrowed in determination. He smirked at the new transformation. "I'm your best shot, Haidu." Naruto did a come hither sign. "Naruto-sensei, thank you." A red ball of condensed energy formed on Issei's palm. It stayed afloat on his palms as he drew his arm back and thrust it at Naruto, with his fingers stretched out wide. Oregon Shadow. A boom sound rang throughout the forest, a cloud of dust rose up to the sky. Naruto dusted his signed clothes inside a collapsing sand construct that looked similar to a raccoon with a smile. "Not bad, Haidu. You did well." Naruto sweat dropped when he saw Issei on the floor passed out and a quarter of the forest destroyed. Flashback ends. Issei winced when he remembered that. He still felt phantom pain from those kicks. Oh well, he had a chicken to skewer. "Riser deems it insulting to attack a low-level devil first," Riser said as his flaming devil wings came out. "But you." Issei sped towards Riser, who was a bit surprised at Issei's new speed. His surprise would have cost him if he didn't have years of battle experience. He stopped a roundhouse kick with his hand. The force behind the kick made him retreat a step back. Issei countered with a back roundhouse kick which Riser dodged before they started to exchange kicks and fists. Riser went for an uppercut which Issei dodged with a backflip to create distance between them. "Riser is impressed with your improvement, but you are nothing compared to Riser's might," the arrogant chicken boasted. Issei charged at Riser with much more speed than before. He went for a straight punch aimed at Riser's face, which was intercepted by the Phoenix's hand. Issei slapped the hand away and used the opportunity to flip Riser overhead. He spread his devil wings and flew at him. Boost. 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 Issei sped at Riser's unstable form and punched him into the wall. Back in the hall. Riaz had a look of amazement on her face. When did Issei become this good? Was this really the naughty Issei they all knew? The other members had the same thoughts in their mind. The boy seems to be holding his own against Riser very well. Impressive, Surziches did an internal analysis. In the rating game. Issei didn't give Riser room to breathe at all as he focused his boosted powers on his wings and charged at Riser to start another deadly dance. Riser employed mental tactics and started taunting the young naughty. Issei was getting angry and his punches were becoming sloppy. Riser saw an opening and kicked him in the face. "You are too young and inexperienced to challenge Riser. Give up and I might be merciful." His egoistical side reared its ugly head again. Issei analyzed the current situation he was in. This guy was faster than him, but his spars with Naruto had increased his overall speed and reaction time, but a week compared to the year's experience was too much for Issei. "It looks like I'll have to use that earlier than I thought." "Fine, Riser has been merciful enough. I think it's high time you die so I can get on with my wedding," he said as he rushed Issei. Riser went for a haymaker and to his surprise, Issei caught his fist and his grab was tighter and stronger. He went for a roundhouse kick which made Issei double over in pain, but the brunettes wouldn't let. Riser charged at Issei again, but this time, they were both matched and they kept on fighting with Riser healing instantly from any damage he received while Issei's stamina gradually decreased. Riser charged up a ball of fire and threw it at Issei who countered by slapping the flames away with his sacred gear. Riser charged up a bigger fireball and took aim at Issei. He dodged most of it before Riser stepped up his game. Riser's fist caught flames as he punched the floor. A pillar of fire rushed towards Issei. Acting quickly, he rolled over, but a human-sized fireball was already on his face before a green wisp of magic energy appeared around his legs and he sped out of their way. This technique was actually something Naruto suggested while he was picking his nose. He remembered Naruto saying that if he could boost his powers to a certain level and at a given time, would he be able to focus it fully or partially on a part of his body. The result was this. He would gain twice the boosted power if he focused it on a certain part of his body. It had its disadvantages, too. He sped towards Riser, dodging all the fireballs launched at him. He got close and focused his boost on his feet. He kicked Riser's head off, a sickening crunch filled the air as his neck twisted in a grotesque manner before it snapped back in place. Riser bellowed in anger and expelled flames from all around his body as his vicinity was ignited. Issei jumped back a long distance and stared at his singed sleeves. Blocking a flaming fist wasn't easy. He had to finish this fight quickly before he reached his boost limit. His musing was cut short when the flames around Riser gathered into his palms as he closed his fist and opened them wide at him before a huge blast of flame hit Issei. His back made contact with the wall with bang as spider cracks appeared on it. He bounced off the wall into a crouching stance and wiped off the blood streaming from his mouth. "This is the end for you, boy," Riser screamed. He brought his hands above his head and his body itself caught fire before they gathered into the space between his hands. The ball of fire looked really small and harmless, but the amount of heat it generated was insane. Back in the hall. "Looks like this is the end of the line for your pawn," Ria's Ravel stated with closed eyes. Riaz, who had difficulty keeping her mouth shut due to Issei's new prowess, frowned when she heard that. "He's been doing good on his own, Ravel. I have full faith in him," she said with conviction. Surzic stared at the game with great interest. He watched the rating game and he was pretty unimpressed with Issei and that naughty technique of his. Surzic believed the name to be dress break. Compared to the white one, this boy was lacking in all areas, but the Issei in front of him battling Riser was a far cry from the naughty Issei a week ago. He wondered how he managed to attain skills like this in a week. Hiba never expected Issei to be this good. The boy was on fire today. Excuse the pun. Koneko had an indifferent face on, but her eyes were glued to the match. Akeno, well, she had a blush on. Most of the devils had disbelief written all over their faces. A low-level devil was holding his own against Lord Riser. They found that hard to believe. In the rating game. Issei knew he had to finish this fight, he had prolonged it for too long. He dipped his hand into his pocket to make sure it was in there. He breathed a sigh of relief when he heard a rustling sound as his fingers ran through the object in his pocket. It was time to finish this. "Boy, Drake, let's do this," he screamed out to Dragon partner. Boost. 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 Issei felt power course through him as he readied his own attack. "Riser's ultimate technique will prevail over yours, Grimoire servant," Riser said as he brought both hands in front of him with his right fingers facing up and his left fingers facing downwards and his palms facing Issei. The hot fireball cracked and a beam of hot intense flames rushed at Issei. Issei, too, drew his arms back and fired his own technique. Dorrigan Shadow. Both beams met in the middle and it looked like Riser's would prevail before Drake gave Issei another boost. The dragon shot swallowed Riser's beam as it incinerated Riser's upper body. His body formed back later and he leveled a heated glare at Issei before he chuckled and it gradually became a full-blown laugh. "No matter what you do, Riser will heal from it. I am immortal," he roared at Issei. Issei was getting really irritated. He wondered why he hadn't finished the battle before he remembered his grand plan. His grin became fox-like and thunder flashed in the background. "Hey, Riser, guess what I had for dinner last night? Burned chicken wings. It was so burnt it looked like what you will when I'm done with you." Issei was laughing on the inside, proud of what he had come up with. Riser's face darkened in rage. "What's wrong? You don't like it? Then stop being a cat and come at me like a man." He pointed at himself. Riser was shaking with fury. "Hawk hawk." Issei imitated a hen. Riser saw red and charged at Issei, screaming murder and releasing fireballs after fireballs. Issei kept advancing and dodging the fireballs till he reached Riser's personal space. He quickly rolled off the ground, intent on making Riser trip and fall. His plan was a success except Riser reflexes kicked in and he stopped his descent with both hands, lest he hit the ground face first. Issei was behind Riser on his knees, with both hands joined together with his index and middle finger pointing upward. "This is it, Riser," he screamed out. "Busatito Gear Hisatsu. Senin Garashi." At that moment he stuck 4 fingers into Riser's butt and Riser was sent flying forward before landing with his head buried in the ground. At that moment, everyone's eyes were wide open. Ria suppressed a giggle and Surzic raised an eyebrow at the unusual technique. Akeno had a huge blush on her face. Koneko, Faceplum and Kiba had a sweat drop rolling down his head. Riaz couldn't take it anymore and laughed hard. Soon a lot of people followed as well. Riser was livid. How dare he? How dare a low-level devil touch him like that? Oh, it was time for blazing divine retribution. "I win, Riser," Issei said with a huge smile on his face. "Riser thinks you have deluded yourself, boy. I cannot be defeated as long as I have my family's bloodline," Riser explained. "All the boost my body can handle, Drake," Issei told his partner telepathically. Vestido. The green gem on the gauntlet shined brightly. A red energy ball appeared on Issei's arm as he prepared his dialogue. Back in the hall. Riaz bit her lips hard and grabbed a fistful of her dress. She was afraid of what would happen to Issei if his body gave out due to the multiple boosts he's been using. She just chooses to have faith in her cute pawn. All the devils were at the edge of third seats waiting for the conclusion of the battle. The Dragon Boy had exceeded their expectations so far. The Occult Research Club members were amazed at Issei's improvement. The boy was fighting Riser on equal level, but Riser's regeneration was still a major problem. Only Surziches and Graphia saw what Issei did. In the rating game. I won't forgive anyone that makes Butchu cry. Issei roared out. Dorgan Shadow. He fired a concentrated beam at Riser. He fell to his knees due to exhaustion. The technique detonated and a heavily injured Riser with a lost arm, a missing left abdomen, and most of his lower body missing cried out in agony. Issei also collapsed, breathing out hard due to the exhaustion caused by multiple boosts. This is impossible. I can't regenerate. What did you do to me? Riser demanded to know what was wrong with him before he coughed up blood and fell on the floor. He didn't refer to himself in the third person this time, Issei pointed out. Lord Riser has been retired. Winner. Issei Haidu. Issei's body was teleported away from the pocket dimension back to the hall. Everyone cheered for the amazing battle they got to witness. They called and whistled at him. Not being used to this much attention, Issei blushed and he felt his head descend into a familiar pair of heavenly oppi. Thank you, Issei, Riaz thanked him as fresh tears cascaded down her beautiful face. I did it, Butchu. I kept my promise. He gave her a thumbs up. Thank you, Issei, my Issei. She wrapped her hands around his head and rested her chin on his hair. Issei blushed when she called him hers. Smashed between the soft velvety of her boobs, his naughty thoughts were interrupted when Riaz brought out a little glass bottle from his pocket. What's this? She asked. As she was about to open it, Issei slapped the bottle from her hands. That's holy water, I came prepared for the worst, Butchu, he said. Oh, Issei. She rubbed his cheek and brought his face into her bosom. That was quite impressive, Dragon Boy. Surzich's hands twitched when he saw the position Issei was in. Damn brat. Don't you dare touch my Riatan. A chibi Surziches raged in his mind. The paper you placed on him, what was it? Surziches asked. It has the power to take away a phoenix's regeneration powers. I see. That's a dangerous seal, Issei, Surziches said. It's a one-time thing anyways, Issei replied. How did you get your hands on something like that? Surziches questioned. Issei grew visibly uncomfortable to the point where he began sweating bullets at the sudden question. This was Amayu asking him a question, but a blank-faced Naruto with his arms crossed appeared in his mind, making him think twice before he answered. What if I told you I bought it on the internet? Issei would rather take on 70 masks than a mad Naruto Uzumaki. He had gotten a warning from a raccoon dog of all things to never offend Naruto if he loved his sanity. Surziches stared at him with disbelief written all over his face. He dropped the matter for now because he wanted to celebrate his baby sister's victory. You did well, Issei, all the members of the orc congratulated him. The devils congratulated Issei on his victory, but what Issei didn't know was that his victory would be known by all of devil kind. Braifia summoned a griffin for Issei to ride on back to the Gremory Castle, as the devil couldn't use teleportation circles yet. Diaz tagged along and both teams were on the griffin, a bird-like beast en route to the Gremory Castle. Surziches and Graphia stared at the griffin in the distance, their gaze lingering on Issei. That boy, the seal he used was no ordinary seal. It had no trace of magic in it, I've never seen anything like it before, Surziches told Graphia. Does it displease you, Mayu-sama? Graphia asked. A seal that could take away a phoenix's regeneration powers should not be taken lightly. Who knows what it could do to other devils, he stated. Do you want us to investigate further? Graphia asked. Surziches continued to stare at the griffin, slowly disappearing in the distance with Graphia behind him. She understood her king's silence and had already begun making plans to carry out her king's order. Back with Issei and Riaz. Issei was busy sky-gazing on the griffin when Riaz cupped his cheeks. You fool, you have so many bruises on your body. She played with the buttons on his shirt gently. It's nothing. I'd take on an entire battalion of phoenixes for you, Butchu. You mean a lot to me, he said with his eyes closed and a gentle smile on his face. Issei? She stared at him with a huge blush staining her cheeks. You really mean a lot to me too. She kissed him on the lips as the griffin flapped its wings and the night breeze ruffled their hair as it made its way to Kuoh. Next morning in the Uzumaki mansion. Why do I feel as if I'm missing something? Naruto asked as he absent-mindedly petted Chibi Matatabi on his lap. Said Cat stared at him with a raised eyebrow. There goes his quirks again. I miss that Nico girl. Matatabi said out of the blue. Naruto didn't even register Matatabi's words as he lifted her off his laps and autopiloted to the kitchen with a thoughtful look on his face. What is it? I can't seem to know what it is, but I know it's missing. Oh well, I'm gonna remember it sooner or later. He said as he switched on the electric stove and boiled water for the instant ramen he was about to make. Naruto's mind wandered again, this time to his one-week student. The kid should be back by now. Winning was a piece of cake with the suppression seal he gave the boy. That riser guy would find out how weak he was without his regenerative abilities. Boy Naruto, I sense a whole lot of strong signatures around Kuoh lately. This could get ugly if you don't do something about it. Kurama, who was on the counter beside Matatabi, had been picking up different signatures in town lately. That is bad business, I will not get involved unless my person is threatened. He said as he fumbled around the cabinet looking for instant ramen. What about that dragon brat? You helped him, didn't you? So why don't you do the same to the people of Kuoh? As much as Kurama loved their anonymity, he wanted to see Naruto in action once again. Well, that or he just wanted to let some of his bloodlust loose. We don't know yet if these crows are hostile or friendly and, besides, I'm not in their crosshairs so lem just stay low he said as he dropped 5 instant ramen into the boiling water and added all the ingredients in. A poof later and a chopstick appeared in his hand. He gently mixed, poking at the noodles every now and then, his patience was running, but he had to wait to get the perfect noodle texture. Naruto stopped stirring his breakfast when his ears picked up the sound of the front doorbell. He got up and set loose a string of curse words. Naruto got to the door and what he saw was displeasing. The Haidu kid was there along with that Gremory kid and her peerage. His eyes darkened when Issei stood there with a strained smile. "Hey sensei," Issei greeted sheepishly. Naruto specifically told him not to tell anyone he helped him train to achieve his balance breaker, although it's imperfect, it did the job just fine. He managed to increase the time limit to 15 seconds under Naruto's tutelage. Now, he was in a life and death situation. Good morning, Naruto-sensei, the whole club greeted minus Koneko who was fidgeting behind them. Rias herself was a bit nervous about this. She wanted to greet Naruto formally for training her pawn. Akeno had a blush on her face when she laid her eyes on her shirtless teacher. Naruto was a fine specimen of a man up close. The mark on his face augmented his looks just fine. Hiba actually had a bit of respect for Naruto. If this guy could mold Issei into what they saw in the battle against Riser, then he was one hell of a teacher. Koneko was against them coming here because of the fear she had for the blonde teacher, but Issei reassured them that Naruto wasn't necessarily evil once they got to know him. Naruto leveled a heated glare at Issei. "Oh, what the fuck did I tell you not to do?" kind of glare. "Would you please let us in?" Rias asked when there was no sign that Naruto would move away from the door. "What do you want, little bats?" Naruto asked. "We just wanted to thank you for helping Issei." Naruto glared at Issei who was staring at a flower with keen interest. Naruto grunted in response to Ria's gratitude and was about to close the door before Rias screamed for him to wait. "I would like to talk to you about something." Naruto stared at her and shifted his attention towards Issei, who had both hands in front of him begging Naruto to please let them in. "I don't want a bad infestation in my house, but as a teacher, I can let my students inside my house," he said as he walked away from the door and let them in. "Compliments on the house," Kiba said as he took a seat in one of the chairs, followed by Rias, Akeno, Issei and Koneko. Koneko's cat ears and tails, which she had been trying to suppress ever since they got to Issei's neighborhood, came out in full force when she entered Naruto's house as she settled into the chair with a satisfied sigh. Naruto stared at the waving appendage and shook his head. Yaokais tend to act weird when they are around him. "What is it, Gremory? Don't tell me it's a biology-based topic," Naruto asked. Rias cringed at that. "Not at all, sensei. I was just wondering what faction you belong to. You are in my territory and I hope you wouldn't mind me trying to keep it secure," she added. Naruto scoffed at that. "Secure my foot?" This place was crawling with crows and stray bats. "I belong to no faction," he nonetheless answered. Rias was happy he didn't belong to anyone. This was perfect. "Naruto-san, I presume you know about the 3 great factions." Rias quickly suppressed her excitement when Naruto nodded. "How would you like to become a member of my peerage?" she asked with hope in her eyes. She hasn't seen Naruto in action, but judging from what Issei told them about him, he was really good at hand-to-hand combat and he could control fire. Not interested. He didn't even think about it twice. Rias wasn't expecting him to decline her that quickly. "But think about it, you'll have enhanced strength, durability, and your overall lifespan will increase." "No thanks," he said. But whatever she was about to say was interrupted. "The answer is no, kid," he finalized. "Naruto-san seems adamant about not becoming a devil, do you love your humanity that much?" Akeno said with her ever-present beautiful smile. "Yes, Kanu," Naruto said. "Kanu?" she asked. "Isn't that your name? Kanu Jumongi? Or was it Himanji?" Naruto tried to remember her name. "It's Akeno Himejima." Akeno giggled when Naruto got her name wrong. "Kino would have been much nicer than Kanu," she said. "Kino it is," Naruto said. "Well, we just wanted to know what your stance was." "Don't worry, kid. If I wanted you all dead, you would have been dead a long time ago," he stated offhandedly. Rias forced a strained smile at that. He speaks as if he could destroy them all with a casual flick of his fingers. Rias hated that. I would like to have a spar with you sometimes. We could help each other. She tried to get him into a fight. The rest were up for it, too, except Issei. A spar? You are too young to challenge me, little girl. He scoffed. Rias grit her teeth in exasperation. Her favorability towards him was plummeted rapidly. You mind your devil business and I'll mind mine, okay? He added. It was official. She disliked Naruto Uzumaki. Well then, thank you for having us, Naruto-san. She bowed as she made her way to the front door with all the others behind her. Kaneko's eyes widened a bit before she stared at Naruto's blue orbs. There was a scent around Naruto, a really familiar scent at that. It was the scent of a chakra around Naruto, and his house was really warm. She was going to miss that. Naruto-san, she shook her head as it was impossible for her older sister to be in Kuoh. I do, Naruto called Issei, who froze when he heard his name. Naruto hadn't said a word to him this morning, and he thought he had escaped the wrath of the blonde ninja. Who was he kidding? The dude was his neighbor. We have a lot to discuss, Issei, Naruto said in a sing-song voice. The image of a man wearing a mask and a ninja garb appeared behind Naruto. Oh shit. He used my name. I'm toast. He lamented in his mind. Yes, sensei, we certainly have, he replied as he closed the front door and Naruto was left alone in his house. He specifically told Issei not to tell anyone about his tutelage, but he did so anyway. Naruto had the feeling Issei had something to do with why he spilled, and he was going to use Issei against him in such a way that he would never look at Issei the same way again. His musing was cut short when the smell of something burning reached his nose. What's that smell? He asked no one in particular. Were the neighbors cooking something, or his eyes widened as he took off at lightning speed to the kitchen. The whole room was dark with smoke. He channeled wind chakra to his hands and clapped hard. A gust of wind pushed all the smoke away. My Raymond. He cried. With Kuroka. I thought I heard Naruto-kun's voice, she said to no one in particular. Bali stared at her exasperatedly. Maybe I should pay him a visit. I do miss him after all. Bali wondered who this Naruto guy was that had Kuroka so pumped. Hell, she didn't even spew the nonsense she normally did when she saw him anymore, which was great in his opinion. All he wanted to do was fight strong people. The red one isn't strong enough to even gain his attention. Bali-kun, it's unhealthy to deny a woman when she wants you balls deep inside her, a certain black-haired man with blonde streak said. There's another naughty old man. Azazel. I think it's high time I dealt with Kakabiel. That guy has been a major pain in my ass, Azazel said seriously. Sometimes, Vali often forgets that this naughty old man was the leader of the Grigori. Well, if that is all, Vali-kun, I'm going. Kuroka waved at him before a magic circle teleported her. She has been hanging around Kuoh lately, Azazel said. Yeah, she's keeping tabs on a human, Vali revealed. A human? He questioned. Yes. And you're not interested? I'm only interested in strong people. I have seen a photo of him once and he looked very disappointing. Looks can be deceiving, Azazel said. I'll be taking my leave, Azazel. Vali summoned a magic circle and teleported to wherever he had in mind. Azazel relaxed into his chair. It looks like it was time to meet the red one. Maybe he could go see this Naruto guy himself. Who would name their son after a ramen topping? Back in the Uzumaki mansion. It's Maelstrom. Naruto suddenly screamed to the sky with his fist balled up and a tick mark on his face. Somebody was making fun of his name and they would pay for it dearly. The bitch stared. We shouldn't be surprised at this kind of shit anymore, Kurama said. Naruto-kun is too complex for us to understand, Kakum stated. I blame you for this, Shukaku, the lava monkey screamed at Shukaku. Hey, I didn't do anything, Shukaku defended himself. Naruto stared at them with a sweat drop. They were all talking as if he wasn't there. That was mean. Looks like a fight was about to break out between Shukaku and Son Gok. Don't you dare fight in my house. Naruto screamed out. Life in Kuoh would never be the same again from now on. And done. Sorry for the late update, guys, I've been busy doing stuff normal humans do. Happy belated Easter. Anyways, till the next time I update. Stay safe, my beautiful readers. I love you all. I bid y'all a fond adieu. Part 1 end here. On 200 likes part 2 will be uploaded. For now, you guys should watch this fanfic, just click on it and I will see you all there.